let's get into it, shall we? It is Sunday of week 3 of the 2024 fantasy football season. Greetings and salutations, everyone. My name is Andrew Kirchhoff, and welcome to our Sunday morning live stream. For the next 3 consecutive hours, I'll be answering any and all fantasy football questions to the best of my abilities, of course, trying to set us up for success going into week 3. Of course, the rankings that you guys can see to the right side of the screen are updated as of this morning. So updated rankings within their interpositions. So if in fact you were wondering who I have within my top 36 running backs, top 36 wide receivers, top 16 quarterbacks, tight ends, and top 12 kickers and defenses, the rankings on screen should lead you in the right direction, hopefully. Now, for those of you who are members of the Patreon, the rankings were already posted earlier this morning in regards to half PPR and full PPR, all-encompassing rankings up to date. So check that out. If you guys have signed up via code Andrew on Underdog Fantasy, as of August 1st, 2024, till even this morning, for those of you who had already signed up prior to the stream beginning, you have received an email. Please check your spam folder. The rankings have been sent in your direction and should be ready to go. For those of you who are going to send in super chats, because those are going to take priority this morning, please do me a favor and include your scoring format. That is going to make a huge difference in regards to the potential of me answering your question to the best of my ability, and of course doing it quickly. Again, there's going to be a lot of questions, so without further ado, let's go ahead and let's get into answering the said questions. We're going to begin with Eric Sanchez, who sent in the first question of the day. Thank you, Eric. I greatly appreciate it again. He says, good morning, Andrew. Good morning. He says, should I drop Bucky Irving to pick up Dowdle? Okay, if you have Rachaad White, I'd like to most likely have Bucky Irving on roster. If we're going to be in a situation in which, of course, you don't have if you don't have Rachaad White, Dowdle would be the preferred rest of season value, considering I do expect him to take over the backfield duties at a higher rate in comparison to Zeke going forward. So I'd like to have Dowdle as like a kind of a lottery ticket option in the future in comparison to Bucky Irving, unless you have Rachaad White. Now, as for your second question here, it says, and should I pick up the Dallas Cowboys defense and stash? I'd only pick up the Dallas Cowboys defense for next week. That is it. The only time I would ever play them outside of that would probably be against Washington 10 weeks from now. I looked at their upcoming schedule. It does not look great. They play a lot of playoff contenders, and upcoming the Giants matchup is the only one that I feel comfortable rolling them with. I'm sure they can perform well in other matchups, but it's going to require some defensive touchdowns, which again are very difficult to predict. So in this scenario, I would say probably not picking up the the Dallas Cowboys defense unless you have an extra available spot. I'd honestly rather just have Bucky Irving and Dowdle on the same team rather than pick up an extra defense. Thank you. Josh Wan, 23, sends in a follow-up question, the next question, says, in a 12-team half PPR league, I can receive Jamar Chase from Montgomery and JSN. My team consists of Mike Evans, Rashee Rice, Garrett Wilson, Rashid Shaheed. My running backs are Montgomery, Jonathan Taylor, Singletary, Quorum, Benson, and Dowd. Okay, so here's the problem that I have here. You could receive Jamar Chase for sending away a guy like JSN and Montgomery. JSN being sent away is not an issue. And honestly, there's not really a big issue of sending away Montgomery in this trade either. I'd like to get Jamar Chase in this circumstance, Josh. The only issue that resides within this overall scenario is that you have cut down your running back depth to quite literally being Jonathan Taylor and Singletary. So from then out, you're going to have to go ahead and make another trade for a running back. You'll have to utilize either Mike Evans, Rashee Rice, or Garrett Wilson, Rashid Shaheed in order to bring in another running back, because at this point, if you get rid of Montgomery, you're far too thin. You need to go ahead and get another top 24 potential running back as your RB2 going forward. So as long as you can address that in the future, I'm perfectly fine with the trade. Thank you again, Josh. Appreciate it. We move on to Mike Kelly, who sends in a question and says, Andrew, in a half PPR scoring format, should I play Chuba Hubbard, Keon Coleman, or Rome Odunze today? Between the three of them, I'd feel most comfortable playing Chuba Hubbard. I don't know if there's here's the thing. Rome Odunze, very much so reliant on the quarterback's upside. Caleb Williams has not played well unless he somehow flips a 180. Obviously, the defense they're going to play against the Indianapolis Colts is probably one of the easiest defenses that you can take on. The fact of the matter is, anything that we have seen thus far from the Colts is what we're going to see once again. They're going to come out and sit in the exact same defense. They're not going to change their personnel very much. They're going to sit in that same defense. And pretty much anything that Caleb Williams saw at practice this week, in which they took on with the scout team, that's exactly what he's going to see. So if he steps up and is able to outplay the defenders, fantastic. But ultimately, I'd like to wait and see him produce well before I start trusting Odunze. Same thing with Keon Coleman. I want to see him get a high target share or volume of targets before I can trust him. In this scenario, I think Chuba Hubbard has more value because I think the offense will just be far more efficient and useful in this circumstance. Just like even last week, we saw a lot more Chuba Hubbard, and that was a game in which they lost by 20 plus points. So imagine if they're in a close competition and he even gets, red zone opportunities. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. Prohibit sends in a question, says Rachaad White, Zach Moss, Cam Akers, sit one in a full PPR. If I'm sitting one of the three, I'd probably sit Akers. The matchup for Moss and Rachaad White are honestly too good to kind of pass up in this circumstance. Akers, again, in comparison to both of them, he's a backup, but ultimately it's just a matter of matchup. I feel far more comfortable with the idea of playing, Moss against Washington's defense that just, again, got torched last week by Singletary. Singletary went for over 13 fantasy points and a half PPR. Rachaad White taking on Denver's defense, who, again, Denver's defense is always in a terrible position, often because in the second half of games, teams are leading by so many points. All they're doing is running the ball on a consistent basis. And Rachaad White, with all that kind of touches going in his direction, should lead to him having a pretty solid week here. And if he ends up getting himself receiving work, it's even better in a full PPR. Thank you. Natalie Berman sends in a question, says, hey, Andrew, pick 2.5 PPR. Ford, Akers, or BTJ? Yeah, okay. So this one's going to be close. So between the three of them, Akers is like the for sure. As for Brian Thomas Jr. and Ford, let me see where I have Ford in comparison in my half PPR flex rankings. Okay, so Ford is there and BTJ is, So as it currently stands, I have Ford ahead of BTJ. Again, I don't love the matchup against the Buffalo Bills. I am hoping somehow, some way, in the same vein in which the Jacksonville Jaguars last season found success against the Buffalo Bills defense, there's a possibility in which they can do so once again, going after the same points. But in this circumstance, I just feel far more comfortable rolling with Akers, rolling with Ford taking on the New York Giants run-stop defense, which is a non-existent run-stop defense in its position. Again, last week, Brian Robinson Jr. ran for 133. Ford, even if he's not given the full reign of this backfield, the expectation is that they should be leading for this entire game. And when they do so, Ford and Foreman should find themselves a pretty good volume of success on the ground in this circumstance. Thank you. Grant Lathern sends in a question. He says we need two flex options out of Hubbard, Waddle, BTJ, McLaurin, and Pirine. I'd probably just roll with Hubbard and Waddle there. So Waddle is very much so I don't know if he's, so this is the tough part about it. With Skylar Thompson, he's an unknown commodity. So we rank him far lower than we typically do. Otherwise, every week, Waddle's been like a top 20 ranked wide receiver. So in this circumstance, with the unknown commodity of Skylar Thompson as to what we're going to potentially get out of him, whether Skylar Thompson has improved since the last time we have seen him start in the National Football League, that will remain to be determined. So as of right now, I don't trust him very much, but in comparison to the alternative options you have, he is the best and could very easily, take one singular reception, go to the house and make his overall week. And that's what we have to kind of hope for in this circumstance. So Hubbard and Waddle would be the plays in there, out of the available options you have there. Grant, thank you again. All right, Ben Pierce sends in a question. Thank you, Ben. Ben says, I got Pollard and White starting as my running backs. In a full PPR flex, do I roll with James Conner, Drake London, or Jerome Ford? Not interested in playing Ford in this circumstance. It's between Conner and Drake London. Honestly, I just roll with Conner. I don't love the matchup against Detroit. I've mentioned it on multiple occasions over the course of this season and last season. Detroit's run-stopping defense is incredible. But when I think about the potential of getting himself receiving utilization, which he has already shown over the course of the last couple of weeks, the fact that this is expected to be the highest scoring matchup of the week, I'm hoping that the Arizona Cardinals can keep this one a competitive one between these two teams. And James Conner is always going to have that red zone upside. He's played extremely well. In the last 7 games, averaging 21 fantasy points per game and a half PPR. It's ridiculous. So even though he has a difficult matchup, I'm going to lean upon the idea that he's been consistent. And in comparison to London, I just trust him more in this circumstance. Thank you, Ben. Carlos Roman sends in a question, says, should I start Josh Allen or Burrow in a full PPR 6-point per passing touchdown league? I think Josh Allen is just kind of the automatic. I really do like Burrow. In terms of my overall rankings as it currently stands, as you can see, once it does pop up over here, Burrow's like a top 5 quarterback this week because of the Washington matchup on Monday night. But in comparison, on Monday night as well, taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars defense, Jacksonville has not played well this season. Josh Allen should again be able to find himself a lot of success in this circumstance. And at any point we're beginning to bench Josh Allen, I think it's a brutal mistake. I understand he's coming off a performance in which he did nothing, but understand that Tua gifted them 3 interceptions. They had a defensive touchdown, and quite frankly, in the second half of that game, Skylar Thompson was not prepared to try to make a comeback and force the Buffalo Bills to do anything. So in this circumstance, Josh Allen's our number 1 quarterback, and should absolutely be played this week, regardless of 4-point or 6-point per passing touchdown formats. Thank you. All right, let's see here. We move on to the next question. We go on to Tristan Ewing, who says, in a full PPR, I need one between Swift, Kenneth Walker III, Coleman, Judy, and Ladd McConkey. Okay, so first and foremost, Kenneth Walker's not going to play. Second of all, Ladd McConkey is very much so dependent on whether or not we even see Justin Herbert play today. So as it currently stands, there's a possibility that wherever J.K. Dobbins is, he's over there at number 19 on the top right of the screen. That could potentially even go down in our rankings if, in fact, Justin Herbert is inactive. He's currently dealing with a high ankle injury, sprain. So if, in fact, prior to the game, he comes out and they say, hey, you know what? They're not activating him. He's going to be shut down. His ankle injury is too much. Then we would just downgrade all those potential options. But of the available that you have here, let me check. I think it's probably going to be either Judy or Swift in this circumstance. So let's go full PPR. Let's look. Where's Judy in my flex? So I have Judy there. And then where is... Okay. Yeah. So between the two... Okay, how many can we start here? Is it 2 flex options? No, it's just 1. If you need one of the 2, I'd probably go with Swift. Judy would be the second option. Ladd would be third. Coleman would be fourth. The reason why I feel as confident as I do in the idea of playing Swift is because that Indianapolis Colts run defense thus far this season, obviously, they've had 2 running backs run 30 attempts on them, and they just lost their best defensive lineman, DeForest Buckner. So with all of that kind of, is it DeForest Buckner? I'm pretty sure that's. I'm just trying to remember. I know for a fact that they have a defensive lineman that used to be on the the San Francisco 49ers. I'm fairly certain it's Buckner. Let me confirm this. Yeah, they lost Buckner. If their run stop defense couldn't stop the run already, imagine now. So I'm going to go with Swift today. I'm going to hope that he has himself an upside performance in this circumstance. Thank you. Tommy Vu sends in a question, says, hello, Andrew. How you doing? I'm doing great. I'm doing as well as I can do going into week 3 based on how terrible weeks 1 and 2 have been, based on injuries, based on inconsistency of play, and based on the fact that wide receivers like Alec Pierce are outproducing wide receivers like Michael Pittman Jr. I'm doing as well as I can in that circumstance. Now, that being said, pretty good so far, okay? As for your question, full PPR, choose one of the 3. For the flex position, Jerome Ford, Najee Harris, or Zamir White. Yeah, I think it's clear and away Zamir White in this circumstance. I'd rather play the running back that has the easiest matchup going into the given week. You don't get these matchups very often. Taking on the Carolina Panthers, again, they've allowed the most fantasy points per game to opposing running backs in terms of just rushing statistics isolated, not even including receiving stats. They're nearly allowing 26 fantasy points per game. So Zamir White, even if he's not getting all the touches and there is going to be sprinkles of Alexander Mattison, he is still going to be an efficient enough running back within the given matchup and have enough opportunity to be by far and away the most valuable of the 3. Thank you, Tommy. All right. Kamanakai sends in a question. It says PPR, flex, Diggs, Higgins, Worthy, or Jameson. Between the 4 of them, I think I have Jameson Williams in a full PPR ranked the highest. Let me just confirm this. Let's go over to wide receiver. Jameson Williams and Stephon Diggs are back-to-back, but I do, in fact, have Jameson Williams ahead, primarily because, again, he's getting a far greater target volume of opportunity. And the way that I've kind of... Okay, so the stat that I heard literally, I think it was last night, was that Detroit, since November of 2022, in games in which... since November 2022, in games where the Detroit Lions lost, the following week, they are 8-0 against the spread, and they're 8-0 straight up. So there's a possibility, and they usually win those contests by, I think it was like a 10-point average. So Detroit should probably completely destroy, based on, the history of what they've done recently, they should probably destroy this Arizona defense. Jameson Williams obviously played extremely well, getting himself a high volume of targets. We just got to hope that continues to stay consistent, which it should. Thank you. Prohibit says in a follow-up, says, Metcalf, Neighbors, or Bowers in the flex full PPR. I think I'm going to suggest Metcalf, but Bowers is going to be close behind. Let me see here. Metcalf. So Metcalf sits there. Bowers would be second. And then, of course, the last option would be Neighbors. But yeah, Metcalf gets the start in this circumstance here, Prohibit. Obviously, I'd like to play Bowers. In your circumstance, you're probably starting somebody else, but I have Bowers as the top 2 tight end in the given week. So maybe start... I mean, I don't know who you're starting instead of him. Maybe you already have McBride or something, but either way, you got a lot of great options there, and hopefully there'll be no wrong answers and all of them play well. Thank you. Old J Running sends in a question, says, in a PPR flex, We have Zach Moss or Rashid Shaheed. Drop Moss after today for Mostert? No. I'd rather have Moss as of right now. Mostert, the fact that he's already dealing with an injury, they're holding him out. The fact that Achane is, doing what he has thus far, the fact that they're going to be negative game scripts for a lot of the upcoming matchups, it's going to be an Achane-based offense going forward. So not too interested in the idea of Mostert in comparison to Moss in this circumstance. But as for your question, let's see where I have Moss in comparison to Shaheed as it goes into this week. I have Zach Moss ahead of him. So I'll just roll Zach Moss in this circumstance. Again, it's a great matchup against Washington's defense. The expectation is that, of course, the Cincinnati Bengals should be able to maintain and hold a really stable lead, primarily because that Washington defense, whether it's on the ground through the air, can't stop a soul. And then hopefully Zach Moss can fall into the end zone in this circumstance. Oftentimes, again, that Cincinnati Bengals, just wait. When we watch the game on Monday, I want you guys to all remember that Andrew knows for a fact that this offensive line, for some reason, whenever they get down to the goal line, they begin to miss blocks on purpose. I swear I've seen it year over year. It is unbelievable, but just keep that in mind. But either way, we're hoping that Moss can hopefully break out a big run here and find a lot of success. Obviously, Washington the last 2 weeks, whether it was, week 1, Rachaad White, or most recently, Devin Singletary, both of them have found a lot of success. So Moss should follow suit. All right, thank you. Amiibos sends in a question. Amiibos are fun. Says start 2 in a full PPR. Wan'Dale Robinson, Demarcus Robinson, or Jalen Tolbert. Yeah, I'll take Wan'Dale Robinson and Demarcus Robinson. Those would be the two preferred. Tolbert is kind of someone that I'm gonna have to wait and see. Again, yes, he had a great week last week, but it was a lot in garbage time. So if they're gonna be in a situation in which they utilize more Jake Ferguson now that he's returned, more Brandon Cook, CeeDee Lamb, etc., then we might want to just kind of stick away from him for now. Roll in the direction of Wan'Dale Robinson while Neighbors is pulling all that coverage against Cleveland. Wan'Dale could be open in a lot of these circumstances. Demarcus Robinson's technically the number one receiver of this offense in the absence of Puka Nacua and, of course, Cooper Kupp. So let's lean in those two directions. Thank you. YG sends in a question. Says, good morning. Deep flex. Do I go Michael Wilson or Whittington? I currently have Whittington ranked higher than Michael Wilson. I know because I specifically asked myself that question yesterday in terms of my rankings. I will take Whittington there. As for your follow-up question, or even Vele or Pirine. Let me see where... Well, okay, Pirine I can understand, and I can actually justify that. That one actually makes a little bit more sense, because when I look at the receiving utilization of the Kansas City Chiefs backs, we're typically somewhere in the realm of possibility in which we could get himself like 4 receptions for 40 yards. If he does so in a full PPR, gets himself a little bit of rushing work, Pirine probably gets himself 10 points this week. So I'm fine. If you want 10 points, let's just take Pirine in this scenario. I think I probably have him ranked higher. I don't know what you're scoring from it as YG because you didn't mention it, but let's just assume you're in a PPR. So in that scenario, yeah, I do have Samaje Pirine ranked the highest of the bunch. So I would roll with that just to be safe. Thank you. Okay, Nick Abner sends in a question. Thank you, Nick. Says in a PPR, sit one, Pickens, JSN, or Montgomery. That's really tough. I don't want to sit any of them, honestly. Let me see where I have Pickens in comparison. In a full PPR, Montgomery's there, JSN's there. Yeah, they're both ahead of Pickens. So I play JSN and Montgomery there. I love Pickens this week, mainly because of the potential, not because I actually 100% believe he's going to produce. Just like last week, there's always a chance. He's a talented enough receiver, if given the viable opportunities to do so, could very easily score. So it just depends. Like if we get into a situation where Justin Herbert's not going to play and this is going to be a one-sided affair, then at that point I may consider it. But JSN and Montgomery seem like too safe of plays in this week with a lot of potential upside. All right, Fantasy Football Girl sends in a question. Says in a full PPR, Shakir, Pittman, Jennings, and then so before we even get to the defensive question, Shakir, Pittman, Jennings. So here's how it currently stands. Based on what we have seen from the injury report and the practice report, Michael Pittman Jr. has not participated in a single practice all week long. He is dealing with a calf and, is it a calf or foot? Either way, and back injury. Has not practiced at all this week. Did not participate in each of those 3 Wednesday, Thursday, Friday practices. So 90 minutes before the game, we will be given a designation as to whether or not he is even going to participate. That in itself makes it a little bit sketchy. I'd say if you want to avoid the potential of a player that is dealing with an injury, could end up leaving the game because of said injury, and is not going to be at 100%, you just roll with Jennings in this circumstance. If you're willing to take the risk, then you would roll with Pittman. But there's a reason why I have Pittman at number 28 right now, because I'm still uncertain as to whether or not he even plays in the given week. So Jennings may, in fact, be the play in this circumstance. We'll have to wait until probably around 8:30 a.m. 8:30, no, more like, yeah, 8:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I think that'll probably be a good range to once the reports start to come out. But yeah, safety-wise, it's Jennings. Otherwise, it's Pittman. As for your defensive question, 49ers or the Seahawks, currently I have both of them within my top 5 going into this week. I think in a couple seconds, it will pop up over here in regards to my top 12 defenses. I do have San Francisco as my number 2 and Seattle as my number 4, but I will take San Francisco within the given week. Thank you. Moving on to the next question, we have Tristan Ewing has a follow-up. Says, I need one in a full PPR, JSN Waddle and Deontay Johnson and Javonte Williams. So of those available, we'll take JSN this week. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, we had Jay who sends in a question, says half PPR, Cole Kmet or Foster Moreau? Okay, that's a pretty good question. I don't think Cole Kmet is a actual viable starting option for fantasy purposes this season. Unfortunately, based on what we have seen from Chicago's offense and his lack of utilization, unfortunately, I think Gerald Everett is just kind of taken far too much of his target upside away from him. So in this circumstance, I probably lean in the direction of playing Foster Moreau, as crazy as that sounds. I just don't love the idea of playing Cole Kmet in this circumstance. So personally, I just go for touchdown upside with Foster. He plays more snaps. He gets more potential usage. Yeah, I just don't love Kmet because Gerald Everett, and of course, I don't trust the quarterback. Thank you, Jay. All right, Dr. Diamond Money says, who do I pick up? Rome Odunze, Cortland Sutton, or Jalen Tolbert? Who do you pick up? If you're not going to play any of these options, I'm just going to pick up Sutton. I'd rather have the number 1 wide receiver of an offense rather than anything else. I think Odunze/Tolbert could be lottery pickups in future weeks, could end up having a greater role within the offense. But as it currently stands, I'd rather just have Cortland Sutton in the given week. That defense for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is really beat up. They are dealing with a lot of injuries. A lot of key players are going to be missing. Even on that offensive line, there's a reason why they gave up 4.5 sacks to the potential of, what's his name? Goodness, why is the name eluding me of the defensive end for the Lions? This is what happens when I wake up on a Sunday morning. I can't even remember names. He tormented our Rams in week 1, and I can't. Okay, doesn't matter. Moving on. Nobody remind me in the chat. Nobody type it. I don't want to see it. Moving on. We'll pick up Sutton in this circumstance. Thank you. All right, Shrey E says, in a full PPR, pick 2, Akers, Zamir White, Pickens, Whittington. Out of the group, Zamir has to play. As for Akers and Pickens in a full PPR, that's what we have to figure out. So Pickens sits there in my rankings. Where is Akers? Akers is below him. So yeah, as it currently stands, between those potential 4 options, I'll play Zamir White, Shrey, and I'll play George Pickens. Thank you. All right, G Woo sends in a question. Says, 10-team full PPR. My team consists of Mahomes, Barkley, Derrick Henry, Amon-Ra, Ayuk, Nico Collins, Hunter Henry. My bench is Purdy, DeMarcus Robinson, Mostert, BTJ, Keenan Allen. I traded Dobbins and Kupp for Nico. Any moves I should make with my team? I mean, I don't think you technically need to make any moves. I mean, you have Barkley, Derrick Henry, Amon-Ra, Ayuk, Nico. None of those have to move. Hunter Henry obviously is not a great tight end on a consistent basis, not at least in comparison to the rest of the field. So in a future week, depending on which tight end doesn't perform this week, you're probably going to try to make a move after them and see if you can somehow pull off a trade in which you can bring them back. If not, then you just continue to hit the waiver wire and hope that you can find some value there. Otherwise, the rest of your roster looks pretty clean. Thank you, Jibu. Dan sends in a question, says, in a half PPR, pick 1 for the flex. We have Javonte, McLaurin, and Deontay Johnson. Let me see where I have Javonte in comparison to these 2 in a half PPR. Javonte Williams. Okay. So Javonte sits there. I think he's probably the highest ranked in comparison to McLaurin and Deontay. Yes, he is. So Javonte Williams would be the suggestion there, Dan. Appreciate the question. V Chet says, Evans versus Denver/Surtain or Akers versus the Vikings. Okay. So let's say you're in a half PPR because, again, there wasn't anything mentioned in terms of your format. So as it currently stands, Evans is going to get the start probably 10 times out of 10. I don't find myself in a scenario where I want to play Akers over Evans. Again, I understand that it's a difficult matchup as it currently stands. But even last week, George Pickens had a 51-yard reception, called back on a holding, a 6-yard receiving touchdown called back on a holding, and a 37-yard defensive pass interference play in which obviously he could have made a play if it wasn't for the fact that Surtain was holding him. Like, Evans has played against better corners in his entire career, and he's still in a potential position to be able to still find success against players of the caliber of Surtain, even though he's 10 years in. So yeah, I just roll with Evans there comfortably. All right, Pokemon sends in a question. Says in a full PPR, that's actually a great picture. Says full PPR, start Waddle or Terry McLaurin in the flex or Chuba Hubbard. Let me see where I have Chuba in comparison to Waddle, and then I'll let you know right now. Let's see here. I got to go to full PPR, Control F, Chuba Hubbard. Okay. So as it currently stands, of the available, I probably... Okay, let's see. Where the heck is Waddle? Yeah, I have Waddle still ranked the highest of the bunch in a full PPR format. The next best would technically be rolling with... Let me see. Where do I have Terry in this circumstance? Where is Terry? Yeah, you could... The issue is, again, Terry McLaurin doesn't get enough opportunity, and also, Jaden Daniels isn't forced to push the ball down the field very much. They kind of keep him safe, getting the ball out of his hands quickly because his offensive line's not great in terms of pass pro. So in this circumstance, it's probably just Waddle and hoping for the best. You could play Chuba Hubbard, but I'd probably just roll with Waddle. I'll take my stud in this circumstance. Michael H sends in a question. Nothing attached to it, though. Michael H, let me go ahead and see if I can find your question in the live chat. If not capable of doing so, then I'll just see what I can do for the future. But Michael H, let's see. Don't see anything. Michael, if you could do me a favor and type in the live chat, that'd be greatly appreciated. Because, again, there wasn't anything attached to your super. Thank you. Until then, let me go ahead and scroll back up and continue on. Vic TX361 sends in a question. Says, in a non-PPR, Brian Thomas, DeMarcus Robinson, or Juwan Jennings? I'll take Juwan Jennings there. Thank you. Xander O'Malley sends in a question. Says, I traded Kelsey/T. Higgins for Pitts and A.J. Brown in a full PPR. Thoughts? I think that's a great trade. I don't have an issue with it. Pitts is going to have himself a little bit of a bounce back week here. A.J. Brown long-term, the most valuable piece of all of these options, to the extent to where, yeah, even if you were to just have gotten A.J. Brown, I think it would have been just fine and honestly worth it in this circumstance. So great trade overall. Also, do you think Fields has won the quarterback one job? Look, Fields only maintains the job as long as he continues to help win games. And as long as they're winning because of how great their defense is, he's going to maintain as a starter. Again, you got to remember, they don't really have a commitment level to Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's contract right now is a literal base minimum of $1 million. The rest of it is being paid by Denver. So in this circumstance, they really don't have a commitment to Wilson. If they can get a future quarterback that could start for them for years to come in Justin Fields, they would like that. Especially considering, again, they won't have to pay him as much. Because obviously he's coming off of a relatively... at least this year, he's not going to have great stats. So they'll be able to get a pretty good discount on him. And if he can continue to help them win games, they'll take that, absolutely. So I don't think he'll be in a situation where he gets replaced unless he's throwing 3 picks, airmailing it to the other team, and losing them games, which I don't think he's going to do, considering the way that they have functioned this offense. They've got him very much so protected, and he's very much so mindful not to make mistakes because they don't really put him in situations to make mistakes. But even in those situations, again, delivering a great deep ball thus far. Julian sends in a question, says, trade away Achane and Ridley for Kamara and Judy. I think it's very much so dependent on where you see Achane and Kamara going rest of season. If you think that Achane is just going downhill completely in comparison, then you can make this swap. I do think that there's going to be the return of Tua Tagovailoa after this 4-week potential IR stint, and then Achane's value will be elevated even more. But even in the absence of Tua, I think Achane is still going to be a viable fantasy option to the extent of where I have him currently ranked. So I still believe in Achane. If you want to go ahead and make this swap, I don't have an issue with it. But that's very much so dependent on where you see Tua in the future. So I'm pretty comfortable with Achane Ridley going forward. All right, let me see if I can find the question from Michael H. See, hopefully he typed it in the live chat, and then we can get there and keep it moving. Don't see anything from Michael H yet. So he may not be here anymore. If he is not, then best of luck, Michael H. There wasn't anything attached to it, so can't help you there. All right. We'll come back and see if he swings back around. We move on to a question from... Okay, we took care of Xander O'Malley. We move on to Julian. Okay, we took care of Julian as well. Jerry Reinhart says, should I accept Ladd McConkey and Diggs for James Cook? I have good running backs, very weak receivers. I don't love the idea of McConkey Diggs. I'd rather go after better receivers, in my opinion. I think you can get far more with James Cook. I know you have multiple receivers that may not be of the status of Diggs. as it currently stands, but you should be able to get far more for James Cook, especially what James Cook is coming off of, in terms of that week 2 performance and what he'll probably be able to accomplish today. In your circumstance, I wouldn't take this deal. Unless you're playing in like I don't even know. It doesn't matter whether you're playing in an 8-team league or a 12-team league or a 14-team league. I think you deserve to get more in exchange for James Cook in regards to wide receiver compensation here. Thank you, Jerry. TC Medrick says, I'm 0-2. Should I trade Christian McCaffrey? If you do not have Jordan Mason, then yes. If you do have Jordan Mason, then no. You just hold on to it. And even if you start 0-4, that's fine. Christian McCaffrey can carry you for the remainder of the season and leads you in the right direction. Again, 25 points per game, which should be in line once he returns fully healthy. Now, again, if you do not have Mason, trading him away is a pretty decent idea, but make sure that you get pretty ample compensation. Again, you have to understand we're already 2 weeks into his IR stint. He'd only, be returning 2 weeks from now. So week 6 is probably when he'd return against Seattle. So just make sure you get enough in return. Still get top tier running back talent in return because, again, there's a lot of season left. You don't want to just give away Christian McCaffrey for free and just make somebody else's season and give them a championship because of it. All right, Josie sends in a question. It says, in a full PPR, I need 2 running backs and a flex out of the following: Jonathan Taylor, Mason, Jacobs, and Flowers. Okay, full PPR, Jonathan Taylor and Mason have to play, no doubt about it. As for Jacobs and Flowers, let me see where I have Flowers in comparison, full PPR. The issue is Jacobs is probably going to have a way more difficult week in comparison to where he has been in the last couple weeks based on matchup. Let me see where I have Jacobs, though. I have Zay Flowers currently, quite literally, as my number 26 flex player compared to Josh Jacobs, who's at my number 27. So they're quite literally back-to-back, but I do have Flowers slightly ahead of him. So out of the available, do you have Josie? Taylor, Mason, Flowers. Thank you very much. Josh sends in a question. It says, full PPR, Bowers or Kincaid? 100% playing Bowers. As of Adams or Godwin, both. I don't see myself sitting one. If you're in a situation where every week you have to sit one of these two, then at that point, I'm on your team, Josh. If you have all 4 of these players on one team, I'm taking Kincaid, I'm taking Godwin, and I'm trading them both to try to get an upgrade at running back or wide receiver or something, just so you can get the most out of it so you don't have to leave this kind of value on your bench. But as of right now, I do have Adams ahead of him. Again, if a guy like Quentin Johnston last week can find 2 touchdowns of success against the Carolina Panthers, I can only imagine what the possibility of Adams is going to be capable of this week. And, of course, Bowers against that Carolina defense, who, of course, has been torched by tight ends this season thus far. So Bowers and Adams are my suggestion there, Josh. Thank you. I'm going to go back into the live chat really quickly, see if Michael H. had swung by. Maybe I'm spelling the name wrong. Maybe he doesn't spell Michael the same way. Let me just confirm, because I would hate to have not answered this question. Yeah, that's how you spell it. All right, that's it. That's the final time. Thank you. All right, moving on. We had a question that came in from Elite B Patch, who says, Andrew, with an exclamation point in all capitals, Jerome Ford or Demarcus Robinson in the flex. Okay, with no context of scoring format, if let's say if we're playing in a half PPR, even in a full, I'm fairly certain. Let me see where I have Demarcus. Okay, Demarcus is there. Demarcus Robinson in a full PPR, okay, sits there. And then where is Jerome Ford accordingly? Okay, so in a full PPR, it's Demarcus Robinson. In a half PPR, it is Jerome Ford. In a standard, it would also be Jerome Ford. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. Popa Trickster, or Trisker, says, are you concerned for Brooks in Carolina's offense? Jonathan Brooks is very much so going to be dependent. Yeah, look, here's the thing. Jonathan Brooks was drafted by this coaching staff, right? They've already proven by benching Bryce Young that they are not committed to the players that were in this organization prior to their arrival. So the fact that they drafted Brooks with high draft capital in the 2024 NFL draft gives us a little bit more confidence that once he is healthy, he is going to have full reign in this backfield because they are committed to their guys and the players that they believe are going to be the future of this offense. So in this circumstance, I'm not really concerned about it. Obviously, we're concerned about the idea of the Carolina Panthers not being able to score points or run the ball in games. But as long as he's going to get himself receiving utilization and he'll kind of play as the kind of Rachaad White of this offense, the reason why I make that comparison is because, of course, Dave Canales, the former OC last season of Tampa Bay, if he can be utilized in that sort of capacity, once he does return from his injury, again, I have a lot of hope that he could still make a huge impact in that circumstance. Y'all Too Fake sends in a question, says, Full PPR, I need one wide receiver. We have Christian Kirk, Alec Pierce, and Judy. If in fact Michael Pittman Jr. prior to the game is announced to be inactive because of his injury, then you would play Alec Pierce. Outside of that, I'm leaning towards playing Jerry Judy out of the bunch. Thank you. All right. Ansar Malik sends in a question. Says in a 1 point per reception league, Higgins, Brian Robinson Jr., or Diggs, pick 2. Thank you. No problem. Okay. So of the available, I think I'm just going to roll with Diggs and Brian Robinson Jr. Diggs, and yeah, I'm going to roll with both those. I'll give T. Higgins a week just to see what kind of capabilities he has. Again, coming back against Washington is a very enticing matchup, but there may be a position in which he may not get as much usage. Again, this is his first game back from the injury. I'd rather just go with the 2 other studs that you have on roster as it currently stands because I think they're the safer plays, and I honestly think they're going to produce more within the given week. So answer, I'd go with Brian Robinson, and I go with Diggs there. Thank you. Brian Luna sends in a question. Says start 1. We have Thielen, Mooney, Chuba Hubbard, or Quentin Johnston. Of the available, regardless of scoring format, I'm probably leaning in the direction of playing Chuba Hubbard, but let me check where I have Thielen in a full PPR in comparison. So if I go Chuba there, that's half PPR. Chuba Hubbard takes the cake in a half, but as for in a full PPR, I have Thielen. In a half PPR, I have Chuba. I think it's just dependent on what scoring format you're in as to where you want to go in that direction. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it. We move on to Ryan Tank, who says, reason for BTJ over Shakir in the rankings. So we know for a fact, without a doubt, the Jacksonville Jaguars quite literally are going to have to throw the ball for this entire game. So I thought to myself multiple times this week, all right, is this going to be a game in which Christian Kirk finally finds success? Is it going to be a Gabe Davis revenge game against his former team? Or is the guy who has played the best out of all these receivers, BTJ, going to continue to find success? So I thought to myself, all right, the chances are that BTJ, if anybody's going to get targets, is going to be him. And in comparison to Shakir, the issue that I have with Shakir is that, quite frankly, they don't need to throw him the ball at all this game for them to win. If Josh Allen completed every single pass to everyone else and he had 0 receptions, they'd still win this game. On the flip side, if BTJ doesn't touch the ball, that offense is most likely not going to have much of movement at all in this circumstance, considering how vital he has been to this team. So it's just a matter of assuming the value of these players based on upcoming usage rather than anything else. I understand the matchup's tough, but yeah, I don't know if I can trust Shakir to be as viable as BTJ. Obviously, there's risk in BTJ. That's a given. Obviously, that secondary for Buffalo is tough, and I've gone back and forth on it a couple times, but I just established him as a top 36 player because I know that they're going to have to throw the ball 40 times if they want to compete in this game, if not more. Bully Face says in a non-PPR, Alec Pierce or Jaden Reed? Yeah, Alec Pierce regardless. Doesn't matter if scoring format. Jordan Love's not playing, so I'm not interested in Jaden Reed. And on top of it, Jaden Reed's been dealing with an ankle injury. He didn't really practice much this week anyway, so Alec Pierce would be the start there. Thank you. We move on to Lou, who says, in a full PPR, why no love for Alec Pierce? Debating starting him. The only way I would ever get Alec Pierce back into the top 36, because I've fluctuated him in that position over the course of this week a little bit. The only reason I would ever put him back in is if Michael Pittman Jr. is out. The thing is, Alec Pierce is making plays deep down the field. When you take on a defense like the Chicago Bears, that secondary is really, really talented. It's not to say that he's not capable of being able to produce against them. I don't believe the hype of Alec Pierce. I really don't. I don't think that this touchdown consistency is going to stay there. Nor do I think that Anthony Richardson's a great deep ball passer. A lot of mistakes made in some of these scenarios. But either way, as of right now, if you're debating playing him over DeMarcus Robinson, Shakir, I could justify that. That's not a big deal. If you want to play him over the two, that's fine. But if Michael Pittman's out, it would be an automatic in my mind. Nathan Dennison says, I have Braylon Allen. I was offered Mixon for Allen. Okay, so you have Braylon Allen and someone wants to give you Mixon. You auto-accept that. No questions asked. Keep it moving. Thank you. Christopher Farmer says, Tank Dell with Mixon out, Cooper or Ford? Yeah, I'd probably just roll with Amari Cooper. Yeah, I like the matchup a lot. He's gotten himself a lot of opportunity in terms of targets. Obviously hasn't delivered on majority of them, but I think going forward should be a little bit of a bounce back week here against the Giants secondary. Tank Dell, again, the issue that revolves around him is the fact that he doesn't get enough opportunity. If in fact he was getting 8 targets a game of consistent progress, great. We wouldn't even complain that he comes away with only 3 receptions for 45 yards because we know without a doubt in our minds, eventually one of those games he'd have himself a monster performance. But as it currently stands, in comparison, I'll just roll with Cooper for now. Elsewise sends in a question, says, I have Michael Pittman Jr. and Alec Pierce. With Downs coming back, should I try and add Pierce? If so, who should I trade for? I have Michael Pittman Jr. and Alec Pierce. With Downs, I'm not even worried about Downs. Downs does not play that big of a role in my mind. Again, yes, he's going to be able to eat up a lot of the short yardage usage, but quite frankly, I don't even think Anthony Richardson looks in that kind of direction. At least as of the last couple weeks, in terms of the slot receiving role, he hasn't looked in their direction much. So I'm not going after, I'm not going to be moving any pieces in this circumstance. If you want to trade Alec Pierce just off of the hype of what he has done, great, let's do that. But I don't know if you're going to get much in return unless somebody else in your league believes in them. Like, I don't even believe in Alec Pierce enough to where I would say you're going to be able to get anything out of him. But maybe you can. Maybe you can. You never know. Just have to go find someone who's interested in that. Thank you, Elseway. Santana sends in a question, says, am I wild for sitting Hill over Marvin Harrison? No, I'm sitting Hill over Marvin Harrison. Wait, yeah, sitting Hill over Marvin Harrison and Rice. Yeah, I'm doing the same thing. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't think we're crazy in this circumstance. Or should I flex him? My options are Pollard, White. No, out of the available options you have, like for example, if you're going to start Marvin Harrison, Rice, a wide receiver, then you're going to roll with Pollard and White over Hill. I don't have an issue with that. Now, as for T. Higgins, I'd play Tyreek Hill over him, but that's about it, Santana. Thank you. Rockout says Jacobs or Worthy? Jacobs. Thank you. Tom 21 says in a half PPR, Cooks or Keon Coleman in the flex. I'd roll with Brandon Cooks there. I think the matchup is okay for Keon Coleman. Again, he just needs to prove that he's going to get a consistent target share, which I don't think I can guarantee for y'all. That's why I'm just not going to suggest it. All right, Raul Dang sends in a question. Says PPR, Pickens or Mike Evans? Playing tough corners. Yeah, I mean, look, at this point, I'd just feel more comfortable playing Evans in this circumstance. Both of them have potential for upside, but between the two of them, I just trust Evans more on a weekly basis. Thank you for your question. Appreciate it. All right, scrolling back into the chat. We scroll back up here. After Raul's question, we had one that came in from Hug Tredge, who says, full PPR flex, Jameson Williams or Brock Bowers? I'm fairly certain, let me check my rankings. In a full PPR, I have Brock Bowers ahead of him. Thank you. Jacob Lamonti sends in a super chat. Let me see if I can find your question, Jacob. There was nothing attached. Jacob Lamonti says, answer my question, Andrew. I paid money. Well, that's not a great way to, listen, brother. I mean, I get it, but let's not get demanding all of a sudden here, shall we? Let's take it easy. First and foremost, Jacob, no message attached, so I don't know what your question is. Additionally, no message in the chat, so let's take it easy. Please type your question in the chat. Let's not yell at me in all caps. I'm doing my best. Thank you very much. Moving on to the next question until we see Jacob's question in live chat. We move on to the following. Black Lagoon 2005 says standard league neighbors or DeAndre Swift in the flex. Let me check who I have higher in a half PPR, and I will just roll off of that. As it currently stands in a half PPR, we do have Malik Neighbors ahead, so I'll probably just continue in that direction. I don't have standard rankings, so wouldn't be able to objectively tell you which way to go, but in this current circumstance, considering I do have half PPR, I would take Malik Neighbors in that circumstance. Thank you. We move on to Rocco. Let me see if Rocco typed in the live chat. So we're looking for Rocco's question. Rocco, nothing in the live chat, but you did send up a follow-up who said, Zach Moss, Javonte Williams, or K-Makers today? Out of the three, we'll take Zach Moss. Thank you. Jacob, did you end up typing in the live chat? Maybe Lamonti. Nothing yet. I don't see anything yet from Jacob. Nothing from Jacob Lamonti. Very well. So we will continue on until otherwise noted. So the two names that have not typed their message in the chat, we have Jacob Lamonti and we have Michael H. So I will wait and see if they want to wake up this morning. Moving on. We had a question that came in from Hodge WBDJDKDK. Anyway, Says 6 point per passing touchdown. Goff or Carr? I'll take Goff this week. Thank you. Ankit Patel says in a full PPR, rank Coleman, Thielen, Downs, Quentin Johnston. As it currently stands, I'll have Thielen number 1. If in fact we have a situation in which Herbert does play, I'll take Quentin Johnston 2, Coleman 3, and Downs 4. Thank you. We move on to HFL 5864, who says in a full PPR flex, Ty Chandler, Shakir, Kirk, Lockett. Thank you. As it currently stands between the bunch, I'm probably, let me see here. It's a full PPR flex. Okay, so if we go full PPR, we look at the available receivers. I'm okay running with Shakir in this circumstance. Is Ty Chandler? Yeah, no, I'm not going to roll with Ty Chandler. I'm okay with Shakir there. That's fine. Tristan Ewing says, last question. I meant Jameson, not Javonte. Got it. Let me go ahead and scroll back up really quickly. Let me see if I can find your question in this circumstance. I have to look up your name, Ewing. Okay, so in that circumstance, I will play Jameson Williams over the bunch. So yeah, he would play over JSN. Theoretically, Tristan. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, scrolling back down here. Let's see here. We had a question from... We go down. Cool. We took care of Raul. We took care of that. Okay, Samuel Walker sends in a question. Says, Jacobs, Charbonnet, or London, flex, full PPR. Out of the group in a full PPR, I'd probably roll with Charbonnet there. Yeah, that's the direction I'd go in. Dakota Thompson sends in a question, says DJ Moore or Shaheed in a half PPR. Half PPR rankings should be on screen. They're filtering as they go. As it currently stands, I do have DJ Moore as my number, 20? In comparison to Shaheed, who sits as my number 24. So DJ Moore would be the play in that circumstance, Dakota. Thank you. So we took a Raul as well. Rockout says, drop Yoshi Voss for Whittington or Naylor. If you have to start one this week, I'm okay picking up Naylor and playing him in that circumstance. If you're just holding for future, Whittington's probably the hold. Chris Kreider says, in the PPR flex, Ridley or Ferguson? Thanks, man. Yeah, I just roll with Ridley there. Okay, so I got to scroll back up here. Make sure I didn't miss anything in terms of questions. So we took care of all of these. These have been taken care of. Then we scroll down. Okay, rock out, good. Raul, okay, got it. We're moving on. Okay, Jacob Lamonti sent in another super chat just to follow up. He said, pick 3, Pickens, McLaurin, Higgins, Thomas, Reed. Okay, so I'm not playing Reed, mainly because, again, I have no interest without Love. Brian Thomas Jr., in comparison to the others, not as great of an option. So if I'm picking 3 of these players, actually, if we're playing in a full PPR, Jacob, it'd probably go Pickens, McLaurin, and Higgins. If it's a half, I'd probably go Pickens, Higgins, and Thomas there. Thank you. Janelle sent in a super chat. There wasn't anything attached to it, so let me see if I can find it in the live chat. Janelle... Nothing there. Janelle, if you could do me a favor, type in the live chat, be greatly appreciated. I'm still looking for Michael H as well to maybe type. Nope, no Michael H. Very well. And we took care of that. We're good to go. Boom, boom. Finished. Let's go ahead and let's hop over here. Again, for those of you who are joining us this morning, welcome. Hope you guys are doing well. Again, we're answering questions as quickly as I possibly can as we get closer to the 10 a.m. start of week 3 on a Sunday morning. Again, I appreciate y'all. If you guys are going to send in a question via super chat, please make sure that your question is attached to the message overall. Being able to have to go and find it in the live chat has been an absolute pain in the ass. So if you guys could do me a solid and make sure it's attached, that'd be greatly appreciated. Thank you. All right, let's see here. So we took care of all those questions. We took care of that. Okay, Ankit, we took care of. Okay, Tristan Ewing again. Okay, 6 says, is Jameson hype real? Jameson for Pacheco? Jameson hype is real. I mean, again, top 5 in terms of total targets, top 5 in terms of total air yards. Everything about it just kind of speaks to he's going to be highly utilized within this offense. And the fact that he has already delivered on the opportunities he has been given just gives them more confidence to continue to scheme up offensive plays for him in the given weeks. I'd probably just keep Jameson. I don't need to have Pacheco on roster because I'm not going to have him until week 10. So if you're playing in an 8-team league, you can maybe get away with it. But in a deeper league, The investment of going after Pacheco only to have him for like weeks 11 through 16, the last 5 weeks, like you don't even know if you're going to make the playoffs by the time you get there. So I'd rather just have the guys that can deliver and get me to the playoffs conversation. Let's see here. Any new reports as of this morning? Nothing new. Okay, cool. Let's see here. Maddie has sent in a question, nothing attached to it. So we're gonna first and foremost try to find Janelle's question. Janelle says, in a full PPR, flex Ford or T. Higgins. I'll take T. Higgins in that circumstance. Thank you, Janelle. Then we're gonna look for Maddie, who says nothing in the live chat. Maddie, do me a favor, type in the live chat. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you. After that, we have Just Chrome, who says, can you explain the thoughts on Seattle's defense over Las Vegas? Yeah, Skylar Thompson, period. End of conversation. I think it's pretty self-explanatory in that circumstance. If we're going to find Skylar Thompson is a far more efficient quarterback than he has been in the past, then sure, Seattle's defense won't be as valuable. But as it currently stands, I'm leaning in the direction that he will probably be the same old Skylar Thompson. And because of that, Seattle's defense will probably cause a couple turnovers, probably get after him in terms of this offensive line is not great. A little bit beat up, losing a couple of their starting players this given week. So they'll probably be able to get after him, cause pressure, get sacks, turnovers, etc. Outside of that, Las Vegas, again, yeah, Andy Dalton is a far better quarterback than Bryce Young. Chances are Andy Dalton is going to get himself a lot of garbage time points, which is my biggest concern in that circumstance. If he's able to score a lot in that second half, then in that circumstance, the points start to melt away from the Raiders' overall total. Thank you. Angelo sends in a question, says, full PPR, Najee Harris or Eckler? I'd rather play Eckler in a full PPR, honestly. Thank you. Brian Wise says, PPR, Ford, Steele, or Brian Thomas Jr.? That's a great question. Let me see if Maddie typed in the live chat, and then I'll go ahead and get to the rankings. Maddie, nothing. Okay. That's a period at the end. We don't want that. Nothing in the live chat. Got it. Okay. So let's see where I have him in my rankings comparatively. Full PPR. If I go to like Steele, for example, Steele sits there, not even close. Brian Thomas is ahead of him, right? Brian Thomas, yep. And then the final option in your circumstantial question is Ford, which as it stands, I don't really want to play because of Deontay Foreman. So yeah, we'll take Brian Thomas there. Thank you. Moving on, we have Dave Curtis, who sends in a question. Thank you, Dave. Says in a full PPR, start Richardson or Carr. Again, rankings are on screen in regards to quarterbacks. So like right there, Anthony Richardson 8, Derek Carr at number 13. So I'll take Richardson in this circumstance. As for your follow-up question, flex, Warren, Judy, or P. Ryan, I'll take Judy there. Thank you. Cowboys 9511 says, could you talk to me into why Diggs over T. Higgins? Yeah, it's only because T. Higgins is on his first week returning. If T. Higgins had already played the first 2 weeks of the season, T. Higgins would be a top 12 ranked wide receiver this week because Washington's secondary is quite literally non-existent. So as it currently stands, yeah, we would probably roll in the direction of once again, being very confident in another wide receiver taking on Washington. But if it wasn't his first week back, I'd have again, he'd be a top 12 ranked player. Otherwise, in this circumstance, I'll take Diggs taking on the matchup of, goodness gracious, I mentioned it earlier this week, Byron Murphy as their primary slot corner for Minnesota. Pretty good matchup for him overall in the given week. And his first game back in Minnesota since, of course, being traded. Thank you. All right. Anything from Maddie? Anything? Nope. Don't see it. Okay. Moving on. We had a question from John Clark. Is John Clark going to type in the chat? Yes, he is. Full PPR. Double yardage points. All positions. Pollard, Jameson Williams in the flex. I'll take Pollard there. That's fine by me. Thank you. We move on to a question that came in from Memphis Bear, who says the following. Says full PPR. Start 1. Zach Charbonnet, DJ Moore, Pollard. Where do I have? Okay, full PPR. Let's see where I have them ranked in comparison. As it currently stands, I have Charbonnet as the highest of the bunch. As for your follow-up question, let's see here. Also, Superflex, am I crazy for starting the red rifle, Andy Dalton, over Caleb Williams? Are you crazy? I would say probably not. I don't think you're crazy for doing it. I just think that if this is all the same league, I'd probably start Pollard in your Superflex, and I'd start Charbonnet as your flex. That's what I would do if it was my team. Thank you, Memphis Bear. If not, I don't think it's crazy. All right. Lemire sends in a question. Says, pick 2, Moore, Shaheed, London, Ford, Najee. I'd go with probably London and Moore. Those are the 2 that I'd roll with. Thank you. Toby Martin sent in a question. Nothing attached to it. Toby, hopefully you typed in live chat. Toby, let's see. Toby Martin says, sorry, question wasn't attached in the super chat. This is my first post. Yeah, no problem. You're good. I don't see anything in the live chat though, Toby. Can you do me a favor and just type the question in the chat, and then I'll get to it. Speaking of, let me see if I can find Maddie's question. Nope. Nothing in the live chat. Okay, very well. So I'll just add that to the list of people who haven't typed in questions. So Michael H, Maddie, Toby. So we will wait on that patiently. Thank you again, guys. All right, moving on. We have Emily Doyle, who says, in a half PPR, Kincaid or Ferguson? I have Ferguson ahead of Kincaid. Torn, I'm a Bills fan. Totally understand. Again, they're back-to-back in my rankings. I have Ferguson one spot ahead, so if you want to play Kincaid in terms of just rooting for them on Monday, I don't have an issue with it. But yeah, I do prefer Ferguson in this circumstance. Better matchup going into the given week and expected more usage. Lawrence sends in a question, says, full PPR, J.K. Dobbins or Neighbors? Let me see who I've ranked higher. Again, if in fact Herbert is ruled out this week, I would play Neighbors, just objectively ahead of him. But as it currently stands, I do have J.K. Dobbins ahead of Neighbors as it pertains to the current ranking. Thank you. All right, let's see here. Anything from Toby in the live chat? Toby? Nothing in the live chat yet. Moving on. Again, guys, the reason why, like, let's say, for example, you sent in a super chat and then you realize, oh shit, nothing got attached to it. Let me type in the live chat. By the time I get to the question, the chances are that because so many people are typing in the live chat, it is already refreshed and it's gone out of my reach and I can't even see it. So that's why I keep asking you to retype it in the chat, because if you don't, it's already gone and I won't be able to access it. So just got to keep refreshing to it. Speaking of, J Ben, there was nothing attached to your question either. J Ben doesn't type anything in the chat, so we will just wait until that. I'll add him to the list. J Ben. Moving on, next question. We have the following from Alex Songrass, who says, Andrew, in a 6-point per passing touchdown league, Anthony Richardson or Jaden Daniels, full PPR. Between the two of them, I think I have Jaden Daniels ranked higher in a 4-point. I think I'd probably prefer him more as well in a 6-point. I don't have an issue with that. I'll probably roll with Jaden Daniels. As for your follow-up question, Mike Evans or Brian Robinson in the flex in a full PPR, I'm probably going Evans there. Brian Robinson has been really great in terms of fantasy production, but I don't see myself ever benching Mike Evans. I don't find myself doing that. So I'll roll with Evans every scenario I get. Thank you. Moving on, we had a question that came in from. Okay, let's scroll back up here. Who are we missing? Okay, there we go. So after Alex Songrass, we had Gregory Rogers, who says in a full PPR, running back loaded, we have Barkley, Henry, J.K. Dobbins, Aaron Jones, Steele. Trade offer, Henry, Higgins for Ayuk and Braylon Allen. This week's, as it currently stands, I'd rather have Henry and Higgins the rest of the season. That's my personal preference on the matter. If you were going to trade away, yeah, I'd probably just keep what you have as of right now. I'd rather be running back stacked because of the injuries that are going to come, rather than have to give it up and not have as much of a potential depth in that circumstance, because I think Higgins is still going to be of relatively high value going forward. And then also this week, start T, Jaden Reed, or Deontay. I'll play T Higgins in this week. Thank you, Gregory. Brian Wise sent him a follow-up question, says, tough spot, 10-team league, full PPR, 2 running backs, 1 flex. We have Gibbs, HN, Kamara, Mason, Pollard. Trade suggestions. Yeah, in your circumstance, you should be trading these running backs that you have in abundance for somebody else. So if I was in your position here, legitimate suggestion, Brian Weiss, would be to take 2 of these running backs, maybe just one of them, trade it for McCaffrey just so you have that full backfield value once he returns because you already have Mason, or taking Mason and giving it to the McCaffrey owner in terms of getting a wide receiver or tight end in return. But as it currently stands, as of the players that you have available, Kamara is number 1, Mason is number 2, and I think I have Gibbs number 3 in a full PPR. Let me check. It's either Gibbs or HN as number 3. I have HN number 3, but he's in the same tier as Gibbs, so it's kind of a coin toss as to who you prefer between the two. But as of right now, I'd go with, Kamara, Mason, and HN as the 3 that I would play. Thank you. More Pleasant says PPR flex 2. Okay, so we're picking 2 to start out of the potential 4 options. Sutton, Pirine, Jalen Warren, and Wando Robinson. Of the available that you have here, if it was my team, I'd probably end up playing Sutton and Wando Robinson there. Thank you. Crypt Keeper says, morning, Andrew. I'm screwed this year already. That's all. Thank you. Listen, it happens. Every year it happens. You get hit with injuries and the bug it does not relent. It just continues to beat you down, unfortunately. It is what it is. All right, let's see. The Toby type in the live chat. Toby says, in a 10-team PPR league, I'm flex. Okay, so here we go. 1 flex. I'm currently starting Murray, Barkley, Mason. Williams from Detroit, Flowers, Ferguson, Charbonnet. My bench is Mayfield, Mostert, Diggs, JSN, Waddle, Kittle. Any advice on the lineup? So Barkley, Mason as the starting running backs, beautiful. Flowers and Williams, perfectly fine with those as your starting wide receivers. Ferguson, Charbonnet's in the flex, great. If you could play another flex on top of this, it would probably be Diggs. But if this is what it is, perfectly fine. Charbonnet's the best of the bunch. Thank you, Toby. Appreciate it. Moving on, let's see if Maddie sent in anything. Maddie says, Drew, please, you're the man. Do you really think all my players will have a touchdown? We have Godwin, JJ, Nico, Kamara, Barkley, Devontae Smith, and Pollard. Thanks. Okay, let's see here. So you have Godwin, JJ, Nico, Kamara, Barkley, Smith, Pollard. Do I think all of your players are going to put in a touchdown this week? Honestly, looking at your team, there's a chance. Are you putting in a parlay? That's the question. Godwin, JJ, Nico. Okay, so here's the thing. I think the hardest touchdown potential is for JJ. Otherwise, Barkley, Kamara, Devontae Smith, even Pollard are pretty safe. But then, the toughest ones are Godwin, JJ, Nico. Those are the three that are like the kind of toss-up. But again, you got a really strong team here, Maddie. So across the board, you're going to be in a pretty good spot this week, to say the very least. As for, are they all going to score touchdowns? I'll pray to the fantasy gods that they do. Let's just leave it at that. Thank you. All right, let's see here. So we've caught up with that. So Maddie's off the list. Toby's off the list. Is J Ben going to type in the chat? J Ben? Nope, nothing from J Ben yet. Keep it moving. All right, we move on to a question that comes in from Andrew Meng, who says, nothing in the message, but maybe typed in the chat. Andrew Meng says, hi, Andrew. Carson Steele, Jerome Ford, or Najee Harris. Between the three of them, I'd play Najee Harris. Thank you, Andrew Meng. Appreciate it. Moving on, we had a question that came in from Kenny23332. Says, pick two in a full PPR, Keon Coleman, Akers, Swift, Zach Moss. Of those available, I will take Akers and Zach Moss. Thank you. All right. Nikud 109 says, Zay or Dobbins in a full PPR. Greetings from Germany. Greetings as well. I will take Zay Flowers there. Thank you. Cursed Domain. Okay, domain expansion. Let's see what you got here. Cursed Domain. It says full PPR. Should I go Higgins or Jawan Johnson in the flex? Worried about the snap count on Higgins. I don't think that he's going to be limited. Unless they've come out and potentially said that he is going to be at a limited capacity, I wouldn't be too concerned in this circumstance. So I'm comfortable with Higgins. If you want to play Jawan Johnson, again, they're both pretty good options within the given week. So I don't mind the pivot there, just to be safe. But yeah, as of right now, I'm relatively comfortable rolling with Higgins there. Thank you. Vlad sends in a question, says Jawan Johnson, Michael Pittman Jr., Alec Pierce, 49ers defense, Bills. Okay. I have 49ers defense ahead of the Bills. Which two wide receivers would I play? Probably looking in the direction of playing Michael Pittman alongside of Jawan Jennings. If Michael Pittman is out this week because, again, he's dealing with an injury, you would then pivot to Alec Pierce. Thank you. Ethan sends in a question, says in a full PPR flex, Whittington, Tyler Johnson, or Brenton Strange. I'd play Whittington and I just pray for it. Mark Levin says full PPR. Start Brian Robinson over Ridley in a full, Brian Robinson or Ridley over Fields. So if we're talking about like a 4-point per passing touchdown league, super flex format, I would probably play Brian Robinson there. Nathan Dennison says in a full PPR, who should I start? Pick one. Aaron Jones, Jerome Ford, Cam Akers. Out of the three in a full PPR, I'd feel more comfortable rolling with Aaron Jones there. The run-stop defense of Houston is great, but I think the receiving utilization of Jones in a full PPR, I think, kind of takes the cake in that circumstance. But yeah, it's definitely a tough matchup, as you also admitted in that live or in that the super chat question. Thank you. FC Eagles says, my question in the chat. Good FC Eagles, brother, you are playing a dangerous game here. Let's see if it is actually in the chat. FC Eagles says, Dak or Jaden? Yeah, look, as it currently stands, the rankings will pop up there, updated as of this morning, so hopefully that'll help you. But as it currently stands, I do have Jaden Daniels ahead of Dak Prescott, so that's the direction I would roll in. As for your follow-up question of that half PPR, which wide receiver slot, Pickens or Tank? I'll take Pickens there. And then it says my flex spot, White or Swift. I'll take White, regardless of whether it's Rashad or Zamir. Doesn't matter. So again, Jaden, Pickens, White. Thank you. Appreciate it, FC Eagles. All right. After that, we had Jay Hawley, 203, who says Parkinson or Strange. Currently, I think I have Brenton Strange ranked higher, but let me go ahead and confirm this. I have Brenton Strange a couple spots ahead of Colby Parkinson this week. Thank you. We move on to a question that came in from LDMND, who says, full PPR, I have Kyler, Brees, Kamara, Marvin Harrison, Rice, Mason, Laporta, BTJ. Any kind of trade target to shore up rest of season when CMC comes back. Look, Kyler, Brees, Kamara, Marvin Harrison, Rice, Mason, Laporta, BTJ. If you don't already have Christian McCaffrey and you're looking to try to trade for him, you would theoretically do so using one of your top 4 players, Brees, Kamara, Marvin Harrison, Rice. I don't want to give away Brees for it. Quite frankly, I also don't want to give away Kamara for it, but I could justify it. But if you could give away one of those wide receivers to bring in, Christian McCaffrey, you would. But if you already have McCaffrey and Mason, your team is as good as it gets, and I'm not moving anything. Thank you. All right, let's see here. Okay, so we're still looking for J-Ben. Maybe I can look that up in the live chat. J-Ben's just off the scene. J-Ben, it's all good. Hopefully in future weeks you ask a question and I can get to it. Either way, let's go on and continue on with the questions. We scroll down the list and we go to Bruce Cowdrey, who sends in the following. Thank you, Bruce. Full PPR flex, Juwan Jennings or Akers? Let me see who I have ranked higher in a full PPR. Juwan Jennings or Akers. I currently have Akers ahead of Juwan Jennings as it currently stands. Thank you. We move on to the next question. On board, we have Andrew Mang, who follows up and says, hey, Andrew, Carson Steele, Jerome Ford, or Najee Harris? Okay, yeah, we're still going to go with Najee Harris there. As for the follow-up, half PPR, Amari Cooper or Alec Pierce. We'll take Amari Cooper. Thank you. Michael T sends in a question, nothing attached to it, but let's see if Michael T types in the live chat. Michael T says, full PPR, Kelsey or DJ Moore? Let me check who I've ranked higher. Full PPR, I have Kelsey right here, and I have DJ Moore 2 spots below him. So I have Kelsey as my number 40, and DJ Moore as my number 42. So Kelsey would be the play within the 2 of them. Thank you. Appreciate the question, Michael. Ernesto sends in a question. Says, in a full PPR for my flex spot, McConkey or Dunze? I think, yeah, okay, so the only way I wouldn't play McConkey over Dunze is if, in fact, Justin Herbert misses this week. I don't see any reports as to him not playing. Let's see here. As of Tom Pelissero 1 minute ago, he is saying, what does this say? What report is this? Can I get a report on Justin Fields, perhaps? Or Justin Herbert, excuse me. Justin Herbert. Let's check this out. Let's see if anything on Twitter has popped up in the last couple minutes. He's warming up on the field, but is there anything in terms of... Okay, yeah. So let's just put it this way before we even confirm anything. If Justin Herbert's playing, McConkey gets the start. If he is not, we'll play Odunze. Thank you, Ernesto. Ibrahim Osman says, Cam Akers or Jaylen Warren? For sure taking Cam Akers in that circumstance. Thank you. Axe sends in a question, nothing attached to it. Axe, let's see what you have. Axe says the following. Message above. Got it. Half PPR. My team is Richardson, Hall, Kyron, HN, Akers, Charbonnet, Terry B. Okay. Terry B. Who the heck is Terry B? Terry Bradshaw? Cooks, Shakir, Lockett, Debo, Curtis Samuel. Curtis Samuel can be dropped. He doesn't even play much. He plays like 20% of the snaps. And Bowers, can you rate my team? Also, Kyron or Charbonnet today, and why? I'll take Kyron. Again, if we were in a position in which, of course, okay, so here's the thing. The offensive line of the Rams is going to be in shambles, but usually when we're in negative game scripts, Kyron sees himself a lot of utilization within the receiving game, enough to where it is very much so a solid start. So I've moved him up pretty high. If we were going to be in a situation in which Kittle was active and so were Debo for the 49ers, I'd assume they'd win by 40 and Kyron would be shut down by halftime. So considering we're not in a situation, could be a closer game, I've kind of leaned back in his direction. If you want to play Charbonnet, I don't have an issue with it, but I do prefer Kyron in this circumstance. As for the rest of your team, doesn't look like you have any wide receiver help. So we're probably looking to try to branch. Like, you're probably trying to take one of the 3 of Hall, Kyron, and HN and get some wide receiver help in terms of a potential trade going forward. Thank you, Axe. All right, let's see here. Continuing on, we have a question from Michael Badau, who says, Amari Cooper or Jerry? I'll take Amari Cooper as it currently stands. I think he will eventually figure it out. As for your next question, also Zach Moss or DeAndre Swift? I'll take Zach Moss there. As for your next question, Amari Cooper or Jerry Jeudy again, I will take Amari Cooper. Also Zach Moss or DeAndre. Okay, so you basically just copy-pasted it twice. Got it. So we'll take Cooper and we'll take Moss. Thank you, Michael. Mike Carnivale? I don't know how to pronounce it. Either way, half PPR, Neighbors or Pollard. We'll take Pollard there. Thank you. Bed Bosch says half PPR, pick 3 of the 4. Keon Coleman, Demarcus Robinson, Kirk, Zeke, Thielen. Okay, so if I'm starting 3 of these players, it is Thielen, Kirk, and Demarcus Robinson. Thank you. Marley29 says Zach Moss or Neighbors in a full PPR. I think I'm probably... Okay, let's see here. Neighbors. Neighbors is 2 spots behind Zach Moss in the circumstance. Thank you for the question. So Zach Moss gets the start in my position here. Thank you. We had Daniel Gonzalez who says, in a PPR, pick one, J.K. Dobbins, Mike Evans, or Juwan Jennings. I'd play Mike Evans there. Thank you. Juggin says, non-PPR, Stephon Diggs or Chuba Hubbard. In a non-PPR standard format, I think I'd still play Diggs there. Thank you. Mike sends in a question, says, full PPR, 2 flex, Dell, JSN over Dobbins? No. I'd play Dobbins over probably, well, in a full PPR, I'd probably go JSN and Dobbins as the 2. But if you can only, if you can start 2 of them, I'm probably playing Dobbins over Dell for sure. As for the next question, I also have Josh Allen and Kincaid. Do you like Keon Coleman as a good stash? Yeah, stash for multiple weeks in terms of potential upside going forward, sure. But I don't think he has immediate value this week. Thank you. Michael Ortiz says, good morning, sir. Half PPR, Worthy or Shakir? I'll take Worthy. Thank you. Kevin G says, Aaron Jones or Zay Flowers? Aaron Jones or Zay Flowers? Half PPR. I think I have Flowers ahead of him. Let me just confirm. Flowers. Yes, I do have Flowers ahead of him. Thank you. Moving on, we had a question that comes in from G. Davis, Tap, who says, 2 quarterback league. I have Murray and Love and Fields. Available quarterbacks are Minshew, Stafford, Jones, Levis. Nope, not playing any of those over Fields. I would roll with Fields this week. Thank you, G. Davis. Again, for those of you who are joining us this morning, welcome. Hope you guys are doing well. The rankings that are over here are quite literally updated as of this morning. So these are my updated top 12 kickers and defenses. If you guys are wondering, they are available. Which will follow is my top 36 running backs, wide receivers, along with my top 16 quarterbacks and tight ends as of this morning. So if you have any questions in regards to interpositional rankings and a half PPR, that should be able to lead you in the right direction. I do appreciate it, y'all. Again, if you haven't yet already, click the like button down below. Thank you. All right, let's see here. We had a question that came in from Jesse G, who says in a half PPR, Goff, Herbert, Cousins today. Yeah, we're playing Goff comfortably. Rest of season, also Goff. Thank you. We move on to a question that came in from, let's see here. Michael Ortiz says, full PPR, choose 2. Neighbors, Godwin, Cooper, Worthy, Dell. Yeah, give me Neighbors in London there. Not Godwin, sorry. Neighbors in London will be the 2 starts there. Michael Ortiz, thank you. Luis Castillo says, hey, boss. Mind if my band uses your intro music for a concert intro? Because every time it plays, it means money. Yeah, listen, brother, it's not my song. It is a free use, open song based on YouTube, so it's a different artist, not my song. I never wrote it. You can do whatever you want with it. Just make sure you do it in the rights of free use. I know that it works on YouTube, but I don't know how it'll work in a different scenario. So you'd have to look that up. But yeah, it's called Double Helix. So just go and check it out and then use it as you would like within legal means. Thank you. Johnny Moss says full PPR. Drop Baltimore defense for Akers. 2 flex over Waddle. Let me look at Baltimore's upcoming schedule. Ravens schedule. Because we're definitely not starting them this week and next week or the week after. So yeah, let's go ahead and drop them. Because the thing is, you're not going to play them until technically week 5 against Washington. But at that, yeah, let's make the swap. That's fine. I'll pick up Akers and play him. Thank you. Moving on to a question we have from Brenton7. Who has an old Xbox 360 little avatar that says half PPR, Akers or Dell? I'll take Akers there. Thank you. Vlad sends in a question, says Michael Pittman, Juwan Jennings, Alec Pierce. I think we already answered this, Vlad, earlier. We'll take, again, Juwan Jennings and Michael Pittman. If Michael Pittman is out, we'll take Pierce alongside of Juwan Jennings. We'll take the 49ers defense this week. Thank you. Danny D says, what's a good trade for Mason? Worrying about Christian McCaffrey's return. If you are going to trade Mason and you don't have Christian McCaffrey, the whole thing would be that you're trading him to the McCaffrey owner for the best offer they could possibly give you. Because I don't think anybody else is trading for Mason unless they have McCaffrey on roster. So it's really just up to what they have and what they're willing to give you. If they're not willing to give you anything, then you really just can't move them on roster unless someone in your league just wants the 20-point player for another 2 to 3 more weeks here. Which is definitely possible. Someone might be in a desperate enough situation where they're like, yeah, let me just give you this and I'll take this player for 3 weeks and hope that McCaffrey gets hurt again. It just depends again. So I can't objectively tell you what to go after because it's very much so dependent on who wants Mason rather than the objective nature of, like, let's say, for example, Breece Hall, who can pull in a wide range of return value because he's not going to be replaced in 4 weeks, or 2 weeks. All right, Carlitos Way says, in a full PPR, flex, Singletary, McConkey, Dell, or Naylor. In the full PPR circumstance, I'd probably roll with Dell here. Yeah, that's probably the direction I go with. Dell Singletary would be the 1 and 2 option. Gregory Rogers says, thanks again. Full PPR flex, JK, Aaron Jones, Steele, Deontay, Reed. Yeah, I'll take JK Dobbins there pretty comfortably. If in fact Herbert is out, we'll just roll with Aaron Jones in that circumstance. Luke Granholm says, start 2 in a PPR. Higgins, Ridley, Rashad White. Between the 3 of them, I'm probably going Rashad White and T. Higgins there. Thank you. Mike sends in a question, says PPR, League Flex 2, Dell, JSN over... Okay, I think we already answered this one. We will play J.K. Dobbins along with JSN if you can. And then, is Nick Chubb a good stash? If you can put him on your IR, sure. But until then, if he has to sit on your bench, if you have the available spot, yeah, why not? Again, it seems like this backfield's going to be a complete RB committee until he returns. So we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I think he's a solid stash. You never know. He may end up returning and being decent. Okay, let's see here. We had a question that comes in from Brett Webster. Thank you, Brett. Says the following. In a full PPR, Kittle is out. I have Freiermuth on my bench, but Gesicki is available. Is it worth picking him up and playing him with Higgins back? Yeah, I think he's still worth it. Again, you don't get 9 targets out of just a random situation. A lot of those plays are specifically designed to get him the ball. There's a reason why he was targeted on 42% of the routes that he ran. So I'm perfectly fine picking up Gesicki and playing him over Freiermuth there. Thank you. All right, let's see here. Taesung1 says, choose 2.5 PPR. Ridley, Akers, Harris. If I'm playing 2 of these options, it's probably Ridley and Akers there. Thank you. Mark sends in a question. Says half PPR. Pick 1 in the flex. Javonte, Keon Coleman, or Jake Ferguson. Let me check where I have Jake Ferguson in comparison to Javonte and a half PPR. I have Jake Ferguson ahead of him. So that's the play out of the bunch. Thank you. Moving on, we had a question that came in from Gal Sosin, who says, Jameson Williams, Zach Moss, or David Montgomery in the flex full PPR. In a full PPR format, I'm relatively comfortable just rolling with Jameson Williams there. Thank you. JT says Montgomery or Cooper in the flex. I'll take Montgomery there. I like Cooper's matchup as well, but Montgomery just seems like pretty safe, fair points in that circumstance. Thank you. Jimmy in the cloud says full PPR, flex Neighbors, Shaheed, or Jameson Williams. I'll take Jameson Williams there out of the bunch. Thank you. Maddie sends in a follow-up, but nothing attached to it. Maddie, is there anything? Let's see here. Maddie has the same question as last time? I guess so. Maddie, same question as last time, says, you really thinking all my players will have a touchdown? Again, like I mentioned earlier, maybe you missed my response to it. Kamara, Barkley, Smith, and Pollard are the safest touchdowns of the bunch. Nico, JJ, and Godwin are the toss-ups. We're hoping for them to score, but again, it is very much so a difficult one. If you have a parlay on it, I'm not suggesting that you put in an 8 leg like that, but hey, you never know. Just put a little sprinkle on it, nothing crazy. All right, Xanthius Sutton says, question is in the chat. Thank you, Xanthius. Let's see where you have it. Xanthius says, who do I sit? I have Achane, Pollard, Evans, Adams. Should I flex Godwin or Montgomery? Okay, so first and foremost, for the first question, Achane, Pollard, Evans, and Adams. Out of the bunch, let's say we're playing in a half PPR, I'd probably sit Evans. If we're in a full PPR, I'd probably sit Pollard. As for your other question, flexing Montgomery or Godwin, I'd probably flex Godwin there in a full PPR. Thank you. All right, let's see here. After Xanthius' question, we had Rick, who says, drop Purdy for Carr or Geno rest of season. Look, Purdy will have more value once he gets back Kittle, Debo, and then eventually Christian McCaffrey. Until then, I'm pretty comfortable rolling with Geno or Carr going forward. The upcoming schedules for Geno Smith is really, really, really good. So Geno's probably that pickup and play for the next couple weeks here in his stead. But if you can keep Purdy on roster, sure, why not? If not, then yeah, I'm still comfortable with the idea of rolling Geno for the next couple weeks here. Thank you for the question. Appreciate it. Gary sends in a question, says, can you put together another underdog pick? On the spot, probably not. Again, I did a couple yesterday in the live stream. I did also a couple in regards to my Hidden Gems video for that was posted yesterday morning. So already there. Again, my favorite pick for this week is higher on the 3.5 receptions for Achane. Outside of that, anytime touchdowns for like Kamara, Barkley, especially considering there's the vulture protection, those are great. I like Jamar Chase scoring a touchdown. I like Ayuk going over his yards. I like Freiermuth going over his receptions. I like Bo Nix going over his passing yards. Put something like that together. Put a little sprinkle on it. Nothing crazy. Be responsible. Thank you. All right, let's see here. We had a question that came in from Leo IGL, who says, can you explain likely over Gesicki in a non-PPR? Yeah, listen, there is still the return of... Wait, actually, in a full PPR, hold up. Wait a minute. 1 second. I'm about to say, as of right now, in a full PPR, going to check. Nope, yeah. I still have him one spot ahead. I have likely at 10, and I have Gesicki at 11. With T. Higgins coming back, it lowers the potential of Gesicki getting a higher stream of targets. And additionally, I think that because of how easy the matchup is for wide receiver against Washington, Chase should be far more utilized within the offense in comparison to where he has been in the last 2 weeks. So Gesicki takes a little bit of a downtick there. As for Isaiah Likely, he had himself a huge week 1, terrible week 2, but he is still, of the two, the better performing tight end and could very easily against Dallas have himself a big performance here. I think, yes, Likely's performance last week in terms of usage, snap counts, wasn't great, but if we're talking about top 3 receivers in this offense, it goes Flowers, Andrews, Likely. This is expected to be the second highest scoring matchup of the week. I would assume that Likely should get himself a little bit more usage than needed the week prior. So hopefully they address that. Hopefully they get him more utilization because they should. Obviously, they didn't perform very well last week as an offense in a lot of those scenarios, settling for field goals. And hopefully Isaiah Likely gets himself more utilization. But between the two of them, just the extra usage of wide receiver for that Cincinnati Bengals has me looking in the direction of other tight ends in comparison to Mike Gesicki. Not to say that he's a bad play. It's just that in comparison, I trust Likely just slightly more in this circumstance. Okay, let's see here. We had Logan Semple sent in a question. Says, happy Sunday, Andrew. Would your running back rankings for Rachaad White... Would your RB rankings of Rachaad White over Akers be the same or change in a standard scoring league? Would it change in a standard scoring league? So this is the way I see it. Denver should be losing this entire game. It's going to force a lot of rushing attempts out of Tampa Bay, which will probably lead to Rachaad White not playing in the fourth quarter or a lot of Bucky Irving in the fourth quarter. So in a standard league, if I'm not getting any utilization out of receptions, I'd be okay with the idea of playing Cam Akers. I'm not excited about it in this circumstance because I would definitely need a Cam Akers touchdown. And I think that there's a higher likelihood of a Rachaad White touchdown. So I'd probably still play White there, but in a standard league, I could justify the idea of pivoting with 0 points per reception. Thank you. All right, Jackson sends in a question. Says, hey, boss, in a full PPR, would you trade Justin Tucker for Prater? Or Chase McLaughlin? No, I wouldn't. I just keep Justin Tucker as it currently stands. Just far more consistency in comparison to the other two. Now, if you just want to make a swap in terms of dropping Tucker for the other two, you can, but I just trust Tucker as a kicker. I trust his range as a potential option. And then additionally, I trust the Baltimore Ravens offense to continue to score. So leaning in that direction as of right now. As for your follow-up question, start Brian Thomas Jr., DeMarcus Robinson, Alec Pierce, or Quentin Johnston. In a full PPR, I'm relatively comfortable rolling with DeMarcus Robinson there. Thank you. Let's see here. AEPM 16 says, hey, Andrew, in a half PPR format, if my league gives you 0.10 per yard for kick and returns, is Shaheed over Devontae Smith? Let me check real quick. I've answered this question in the last couple weeks a lot. There's a lot of you who are now playing a lot of these leagues where you get points per return yard, which is insane. When I look at the return yardage of Shaheed, as of the last couple weeks, let's go ahead and let me look at his game logs just so we can confirm this. So in terms of like last week, right? He had 0 punt and 0 return yards because they're punting it out of they're punting it away from him so that he can't. They're giving it a pretty long air time or hang times just so he cannot return it, and they're also punting it out of the back for kickoffs. So if he is to return yardage, great, fantastic. He's an automatic play. But if they continue to force it away from him because he is such a dynamic threat in that circumstance, and he's not going to get any yardage this week in the return game, I think it is just far safer to play Devontae Smith and just take the automatic points there. Now, if I was guaranteed that he was going to get a couple kickoff and punt returns, that's probably an extra 6 to 10 points available there, which in this circumstance I'd be comfortable rolling with. But unfortunately, it's not a guarantee in that circumstance, so we'll just take Devontae Smith as of right now. Thank you, AEPM. Orlando sends in a question, says, full PPR neighbors, Deontay Johnson, Ridley, or BTJ? I'll take neighbors there. That's fine. Thank you. Okay, Orlando, we've taken care of your question. We move on to the next slew of questions where we begin with Nikki Wawa, who says the following: in a full PPR, Montgomery or Rashid Shaheed? I'd probably just lean with the comfortability of Montgomery. Again, he's getting himself solid touches every week. Scored 17 touchdowns in the last 18 games. Pretty comfortable with that overall consistency option. Ben Cutter sends in a question, says, Ford or Akers in the flex half PPR? We'll take Akers there. Thank you. Trandon Cole says, PPR pick 2, Montgomery, Singletary, DeMarcus Robinson, Higgins. If I'm picking 2 of the 4, I'll take Higgins and Montgomery. Thank you. Just Chrome sends in a follow-up, but there is nothing attached. Just Chrome. Let me see what you got. Just Chrome in the live chat. Anything? Nothing in the live chat. Let me go ahead and update this really quickly. Just Chrome, do me a favor and type in the live chat when you get a chance. Thank you. LP sends in a question. Says full PPR, flex Akers, Swift, or Brian Thomas Jr. Thank you. Out of the bunch, I'd probably lean towards playing. It's either Akers or Swift. Let me see who I have ranked higher. Full PPR rankings. I have Akers ahead of Swift by 1 spot, so we'll just take Akers there. Thank you. Swift's not a terrible play. It's just dependent on whether or not his offensive line wants to show up today. Justin Herbert is officially active, expected to play. Beautiful. Thank you. All right, let's see here. Moving on, we had a question from Maddie. Says, next question. Sorry, Drew, no problem. Let me see what you got. Maddie. Okay, Maddie says, parlay for sure touchdown on these players. Adams, Mason, Ayuk, Harrison, Amon-Ra, CeeDee Lamb, Henry, Achane, or Flowers. Okay, so if I was a betting man, which I am, and I was going to potentially suggest responsibly playing a slip here, of the following that you've mentioned, I like Mason, I like Lamb, and I like Henry. Those are my favorites to score touchdowns out of those potential options. Now, if I'm going an extra further step to potentially suggest another option for these players, I'd go Ayuk in the second wave alongside of Amon-Ra. That would basically be it for the second wave. And then Adams, Harrison, Achane, Flowers, that's the third wave. So if I'm comfortable playing like right now, Mason, Henry, Lamb, Amon-Ra, Ayuk. Those are the 5 I'm pretty comfortable with. If you want 4, the most comfortable I would probably would be like Mason, Ayuk, Lamb, Henry. Those are the 4. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, moving on. We had a question that comes in from Walker, 5530. Thank you, Walker. It says, happy week 3. Hey, listen. Happy week 3 is only it's a fading emotion, okay? Because in about, let's say, an hour and a half, we're either going to be happy or we're going to be depressed because of how terrible the week has, proceeded to be. Obviously, Thursday night for many of us, pretty solid. If you had a Jet, if you had if you had a New England Patriot, obviously you came back down to reality, and the New England Patriots have shown their real, form. But let's hope for a happy week 3. Let's hope for an exciting week 3. Your question, Walker. Full PPR pick 3 out of Waddle, Jameson, Tank, Dell, Ridley. As it currently stands, I have Jameson, Tank, Dell, and Ridley ranked highest of the 4 wide receivers. As for your follow-up question, Bretton Strange or Ertz, I have Strange ranked higher this week. Thank you. Bruh says, who should I start? Tyreek Hill, Olave, Jameson, pick 2. Out of the group, I have Tyreek and Olave ranked the highest. Thank you. Legend 1K says, standard flex, Steele, Hubbard, or DeMarcus Robinson. Standard, 0 points per reception. I'm playing Hubbard there. Thank you. Excellence 1906 says, flex start PPR, ETN, Moss, Higgins. I'm going to play ETN there. Thank you. Jose Rodriguez says full PPR, Higgins, Akers, DeMarcus Robinson in the flex. Out of those potential options, let me see who I have ranked highest. It's either Higgins or Akers. I just don't know which one is. Andrew from last night is the more equipped to answer this question. That's why I just always default to rankings in this circumstance. As of the available, I have Higgins in a full PPR, 3 spots ahead of Akers. Thank you. We move on to the next question on hand, who comes in from Natalie, who says, in a full PPR, flex McLaurin, Deontay Johnson, McConkey, or P. Ryan. Out of the available that you do have, it's either Terry McLaurin or Deontay Johnson. Let me check who I have ranked higher in a full PPR just to cross-reference it. Let's see here. So McLaurin sits there. He is 2 spots ahead of Deontay Johnson. So it'd be McLaurin in this circumstance. Thank you. A lot of passing should be in line for Washington today, and hopefully they're going to get him the ball. Okay, so Joshua Palmer is inactive, which definitely does help the purposes of McConkey and Quentin Johnston. That being said, it's a very difficult matchup against Pittsburgh. Then we also got confirmation that, of course, Justin Herbert is going to be active today, which is great. Keeps in line with the idea of keeping J.K. Dobbins where he is. And then Michael Pittman Jr. is also active today. He'll remain as my number 28 wide receiver. As such, he's going to somehow play through the pain, and we're going to hope for a big week here. If not, then my soul will be crushed and I will cry myself to sleep tonight. But we'll have to wait and see as that, how that transpires. Hakima sends in a question, says, salutations. What's your thoughts on ETN this week and the rest of the season? He's my RB1 and am I screwed? As of right now, the Jacksonville Jaguars are not trending in the right direction. They have played awful as a team offensively. Obviously, their third down percentage in terms of conversion rate has been, if I'm not mistaken, on Thursday night, the Jets had more third down conversions than the Jaguars have had all season long. So just to put that into perspective, just how badly they've played, they can only play better. If they play worse, the coach is getting fired in 2 weeks. So with us all taken into account, I'm still staying stable with ETN. I think he's one of my buy low options of running back. He will be fine going forward. Again, as long as they get him more utilization within the receiving game, we know he's going to be the goal line back, so we're not concerned about that. Tank Dell obviously still dealing with his shoulder injury. He's questionable today. So ETN's still going to be of value. Not really screwed per se. Just less upside than we have had in prior seasons with ETN based on how terrible the offense has been. But that receiving work, if it continues to grow, certainly can help him balance out. Thank you. All right. Danu. I'm assuming that's how you pronounce that name. Danu Vive says, his, what does it say? Say Andrew. I've been toggling all morning. You heard me? J.K. Dobbins or Cam Akers. What in the heck is this? Is this English? All right. Yeah, listen, between the two of them, I'll take J.K. Dobbins there. I'm comfortable with it. Again, it's going to be a lower scoring game between Pittsburgh and the Los Angeles Chargers. It is going to be a running fest. J.K. Dobbins has looked pretty good. The offensive line of that Los Angeles Chargers has looked great and has elevated him to that potential. I know he's probably not going to average 9 yards per carry today, but I think between the two of them, I prefer to have J.K. Dobbins in my lineup. Robert Giddle says, Akers, Worthy, BTJ in the flex. I'll take Akers there. Thank you. Kareem sends in a question, says, I only listen to you. Start 2 tank, what does it say? MCC or T. I'm assuming MCC is McLaurin because, oh no, MCC is McConkey. Got it. Out of the 3 options, I'm taking T. Higgins and Tank Dell there. Thank you. Hakeem Capleton says, who should I start between? I think it's Kyron and Flowers. I think that's what you put. You put Kyring. I don't know. Maybe the autocorrect fixed that. We'll take Flowers. Well, Flowers in a full PPR. Probably Kyron in like a half standard. Something like that. Yeah. Thank you. Shackle Free says in a 2 wide receiver. Or so wide receiver 2. Half PPR. Thomas Jr. Shakir. Thoughts on Pierce? Pierce is okay. Again, I think in time, he will come back down to earth. If Alec Pierce is going to just be that breakout wide receiver, that's fine. I'll eat my words and I'll just, in future weeks, rank him higher. I just don't trust it. I legitimately don't. The volume of yardage and touchdowns he has based on 8 receptions, again, it's an unsustainable factor, in my opinion. So I'll just play Brian Thomas in this scenario. I Love Women says, for the flex, full PPR, Jerome, Higgins, or Akers. I'm fairly certain I mentioned this before. I have Higgins ahead of Akers in a full PPR, and a half PPR it would be Akers. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, let's see here. Catching up slowly but surely. Do appreciate you guys being patient. We have Reuben Roberts, who says in a half PPR 2, we need Terry, Thielen, Jennings, Quinn Johnson, or Demarcus Robinson. Out of the available, I'll take Thielen and Jennings there. Thank you. Bug-Eye Buck Nasty says start Moore in the flex over Ford or McLaughlin. Yes, we'll take DJ Moore over both of them. Thank you. Gareth Taylor says, hi, Andrew. Greetings from Stockholm, Sweden. Flex. 2 wide receivers in a standard league. Aaron Jones or Jalen Warren. Mike Evans, Tank Dell, Pickens, or Waddle. Okay, so hold up. 2 wide receivers. 2 flex. Never mind. 2 wide receivers in a flex. Standard league. Of the available that you have, the wide receivers I'm playing are Mike Evans and Pickens, and I would put Aaron Jones in the flex. Thank you. All right, is there any new report? Let's see here. Herbert's active. Jordan Love's inactive. Russell Wilson's inactive. Yep, makes sense. Okay, moving on. Anthony Jones sends in a question. Says, could you sell me on a hot Derek Carr versus Richardson? You want me to sell you on playing Derek Carr? Okay, I'm going to try to sell you on playing Derek Carr, even though I have Anthony Richardson ranked higher. Okay. Yeah, here's the reality. If I'm trying to sell you on Derek Carr, he has the highest completion percentage adjusted amongst all quarterbacks. He takes on Philly's defense that is absolutely shambles. They've given up the most points to top 5 in terms of wide receivers last season and thus far this season. First of all, they went and they drafted Cooper DeJean in the second round, and they haven't even used him. So ultimately, the secondary is in shambles. Darius Slay can't cover anybody. They're sitting in, a lot of, for some reason, I don't know what it is. The Philadelphia Eagles like to sit in a lot of one high safety coverages. They do not play well in that. Like Vic Fangio's defense, they're not generating enough pressure, nor does he like to blitz. So if Derek Carr is going to sit in the pocket and have time all day to just pick them apart or potentially check it down, I don't understand what Vic Fangio is doing. I think he's been kind of phased out as a defensive coordinator. Wherever he's been the last couple of years, whether it's Denver, whether it's Miami, whether it's Philadelphia now, he just hasn't clicked. I think he's phased out. He's been in the league for too long, 30 years. But, look, again, if you want to play a great quarterback that has been playing on fire, could be, arguably the MVP in the first 2 weeks of the season against a terrible secondary, that's where you go. But if you want the rushing upside that I'm expecting out of Richardson in a close matchup, that's the only reason I roll with Richardson. It's not because of arm talent. It's because of fantasy upside, because of rushing statistics. Thank you. Ronnie sends in a question. Says, who do I start, Deontay, Brian Thomas, or Steele? I would only ever play Steele in a standard league where it's 0 points per reception. Otherwise, it's between Deontay Johnson and Brian Thomas. I almost want to give a week for Deontay Johnson to prove to me that he's going to be of value rather than just immediately starting him. I could justify doing so, but as of right now, I'd probably lean towards Brian Thomas Jr. Thank you. Let's go ahead. Let me refresh this to catch up a little bit here. We're good to go. We scroll down to Woods. Thank you, Woods. Says, I have Montgomery, Dobbins, Steele, Ford. Start who? If I'm starting one of them, it's going to be Montgomery. If I'm starting a second option, it would be Dobbins there. But yeah, those would be the who's in this scenario. Thank you. Again, for those of you who are joining us this morning, welcome. Hope you guys are doing well. Again, if you guys are members of the Patreon, the rankings have already been posted as of this morning. If you guys have signed up using code Andrew via Underdog Fantasy, as of August 1st, 2024, as of yesterday, you will have already received an email from my email directly to yours that is associated with the Underdog account that includes the rankings for this morning. So again, if you guys are interested in potentially checking out those rankings, as of this morning, check your email, check your spam folder. If you've signed up using code Andrew, make it a first-time deposit minimum of $10. Thank you very much for all the support. Outside of that, again, the rankings that are currently on screen right here, these are updated as of this morning. So it excludes any players that played on Thursday and readjusts everything from the earlier videos throughout the week. So these take priority as it currently stands. Thank you. All right, continuing on with questions. We had Woods. We're going to play Montgomery, number one. If you have an extra option, you would play Dobbins too. Thank you. Dirtbag Forever says, good to see you again. Dirtbag, hope you're doing well, DB. Jonathan Del Angel says, why Brian Robinson ranked over Jerome Ford? Yeah, Jerome Ford's issue primarily isn't matchup. It's Deontay Foreman. Deontay Foreman gets far too much usage. Again, last week, Jerome Ford had himself 7 rushing attempts in comparison to Deontay Foreman's 14. With the usage of Foreman at that capacity, we have seen Foreman in the past. Last year as a member of Chicago, the year prior as a member of the Carolina Panthers, the year prior to that, a member of the Tennessee Titans. He has been a relevant back on early downs each of the last 3 seasons. Obviously hasn't played full seasons, has kind of been used sparingly. But in this circumstance, if we're going to have a 2-headed monster in Cleveland's backfield, there's less potential upside for Jerome Ford in this circumstance. Not to say that he's a bad play, because he's still going to be given opportunity and still in a great matchup, but in comparison to playing Brian Robinson Jr., who's going to get himself vast majority of the overall touches, and we have already proven that Cincinnati's run-stopping defense is non-existent based on the efforts of New England in Week 1 and Kansas City Week 2. Brian Robinson Jr. clear in the way, the better play of the bunch. Thank you. God's Gang says, I'm not sure I included my format yesterday, which is full PPR, Neighbors, Akers, Higgins. Thank you. Okay, so of the available... let me see here. Full PPR. Let's see where Neighbors is accordingly. Neighbors is the highest ranked of the bunch. That's the direction I'd go in. There's a stat that I read on Twitter. I think it was yesterday. I was scrolling through and my feed just like auto popped it up because again, my feed is just all NFL, all fantasy. Somebody was saying like 50% of Neighbors receiving statistics has been done against man coverage, which he's only played against man coverage on 15% of his snaps. So 15% of his snaps have led to 50% of his production. And there's a pretty good opportunity specifically today that he plays man coverage against Denzel Ward for majority of the day. So they were alluding to the idea of like, oh, there's going to probably be a pretty good day for Neighbors. I don't know. We'll see, man. They're going to double cover the guy. We'll see how it goes. Why is Burrow ranked so high? Washington defense. It's non-existent. They give free points. Thank you. If Daniel Jones can come away with 2 touchdowns and 200 passing yards, imagine what Joe Burrow's capable of. All right. Anyway, going back to the questions. Appreciate it. Thank you. We move on to a question that came in from Good Boxing, Bad Boxing. Says PPR, bonus points for an additional 100 rushing yards and bonus points for 40-yard plus touchdowns. Start to Cook, Charbonnet, Etienne. Yeah, really at this position, I'm not really interested in the bonus points because quite frankly, I cannot guarantee any of those to take place. You just have to hope that they take place. In this circumstance, I'd probably, let me look at this. It's a full PPR, right? Yeah. I'm pretty sure I have Cook and Charbonnet ranked the highest of the bunch. Also, Dak Prescott and Carr. Carr has more bonus touchdowns. Yeah, because of the deep passing ball. I'm fine with that. I think they're relatively close enough to where if you want to go for Carr because of the deep passing game and getting that extra points. I don't know what your bonus points look like in your league in terms of the actual value that is associated with them. But if you're interested in the idea of going with Carr in that circumstance, that's fine. But then again, I mean, pretty sure Lamb had like a touchdown last week, over 40 yards with Dak. But either way, if you like to play Carr, I don't have an issue with it. I think they're relatively close enough to justify the potential of that. Thank you, Good Boxing, Bad Boxing. Appreciate it again. We move on to a question that came in from CJo2, who says, start Pittsburgh's defense or the Bears' defense? As it currently stands, I have Pittsburgh's defense as my number 5, and I have the Bears' defense as my number 11. So that's the direction I go in. If you believe that there is a higher potential of Anthony Richardson turning over the ball on a consistent rate, and the Bears' defense and pass rush getting after him accordingly, then go for it. But as of right now, throughout the first 2 weeks of the season, the Colts' offensive line is like top 3 in terms of pass blocking success. So I'd probably lean towards just playing Pittsburgh's defense. That's going to be a generally lower scoring game from my perspective. Let's see here. Reuven Roberts sends in a question, says also Ridley and PP. Okay, so is that a follow-up? Okay, let me scroll down here. Terry McLaurin, Thielen, okay, got it. So if I'm playing 2 of those options, Ridley does play. Probably Ridley and Jennings ends up playing there, Reuven. As for your follow-up, PPR, Kirk over Quentin Johnston. Yes, I would play him over Quentin Johnston. Kirk has been awful. Yeah, I understand. But I just don't trust Quentin Johnston yet. Like Kirk, here's the thing, right? Okay, so there's reality and then there's past success. Even though the first 2 weeks of the season have proven and shown that Christian Kirk cannot be trusted, there has been multiple years of success with Christian Kirk within this offense, with the same offensive coordinator, Press Taylor, with the same play caller, with Doug Peterson as the primary slot, in the absence of Evan Ingram, should be a solid play. Should be. So I'm going to continue to lean that Christian Kirk, based on that, should be fine. But again, if he wants to burn us one more time, then I'll go ahead and retire the name and we'll treat him like Jarvis Landry of old. Thank you. Alex Turner says, Andrew, full PPR, Jordan Whittington or Quentin Johnston? Let me check where I have them ranked accordingly. Full PPR, wide receiver. I legitimately have Jordan Whittington ranked higher. Not even joking, I do. Is it crazy? Absolutely, but I'm crazy. No one's ever vetoed that potential statement. Thank you very much for the question, Alex. I appreciate it. Okay, so after Alex's question, let me refresh this. Hopefully these are rolling in. Yes. Okay, so after Alex's question, let me make sure that I didn't skip anybody else. Reuven, see Joe, Good Boxing, Woods, Ronnie, we took care. Okay, cool. So we move on to a question that came in from Doink, who says the following. Full PPR, Pickens or Pittman? We'll roll with George Pickens there. Thank you. Nick Hines sends in a question, says half PPR flex, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Williams, Akers, or Cooper. If you are playing one of these options and Williams is Jamison, I'd play Jamison Williams there. Otherwise, it's Jackson Smith and Jigba. Thank you. Trey A says, full PPR, Swift or Steele? I'll take Swift there. Thank you. Dragon Slayer sends in a question, says Laporta or Pickens? Let me check who I have ranked higher. Let's see. Is it a full PPR question, though? Yeah, it is. Let me check. Full PPR, Control F, Laporta. Laporta is ahead of him. I'll take Laporta over George Pickens today. Thank you. Daniel Barnes says, rest of season kicker, McLaughlin, Groupie, or Hopkins? I think it's very dependent on a lot of factors. Hopkins is going to be playing outdoors majority of the season because, again, their home games in Cleveland are outdoors. The weather's going to get a little bit tricky there. McLaughlin and Groupie are in a safer position. It depends. Again, Tampa Bay has had their occasional weather games, but Groupie plays indoors in stadium in New Orleans. New Orleans has looked great. So honestly, I don't mind the idea of rolling Groupie, even though look, McLaughlin, he's put up 15 points in week 1, 10 in week 2. Groupie with 22 in week 1 and like 8 in week 2. I'd probably say rest of season, based on the way that the New Orleans Saints have looked, it's probably Groupie and the indoor stadium just to kind of give him more safety in that regard. But I also like, what's his name? Potentially the Lions kicker. I know that the Lions play the most indoor stadium games this season. That's why Jared Goff has a lot of potential upside, because Jared Goff in like cold weather games typically doesn't play well. So the fact that they're indoors should lead to a lot more potential. But again, Groupie's probably the guy available. Thank you. Justin McMillan says full PPR, flex spots, Keon Coleman, Ladd McConkey, Mike Gesicki, Ty Chandler, Rico Dowdle, Brandon Cooks, of Adam Thielen, Josh Downs. Wow, you had a lot of names here. Thielen would be number 1. McConkey would be number 2. The rest of them would go as such. Thank you. In order of rankings, yeah, listen, I can't rank them all off the top of my head because I'm not interested in playing Keon Coleman, nor am I interested in playing like Chandler or Dowdle in comparison to these guys. So of the group, it'd probably go like Thielen, McConkey, Cooks, Gesicki, and then the rest of them would just be out of the realm. Thank you. Lex sends in a question, says full PPR, Robinson, Akers, Dobbins, Ridley, need 3. Yeah, we'll take Akers, Dobbins, and Ridley there. Thank you, Lex. Appreciate it. Jordan F says full PPR, Dobbins, McLaurin, or Rome. We'll take Dobbins there. Again, I understand it's a really tough run-stop defense for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Greg Roman, the offensive coordinator of the Los Angeles Rams, has a pretty good comfortability considering all of his days with the Baltimore Ravens, of course, as their offensive coordinator from 2018 to 2022. He's very familiar with that Mike Tomlin defense, how to function against them. They found a lot of success in the past with the Ravens. The way that this offense is going to function today, it's going to definitely be run heavy. It's going to be a bruiser game of which trench offensive line, defensive line is going to be able to outperform the other in order to determine success. And Dobbins obviously has looked great, so we're going to continue to lean in the direction of the idea that this offense is going to continue to run the ball and give him the opportunities needed to succeed. Thank you. Okay, we continue on. After Jordan F, we have a question from Trey A. Says PPR start Steeler Bowers. 1,000% starting Bowers there. Thank you. Andrew Wirtz sends in a question. Says in a full PPR start 1. Higgins, Naylor, Sutton, Hopkins, Dowdle. Okay, between the bunch, I would play Higgins. The second best option would be Sutton. I have no interest in playing Hopkins at all. Naylor could be a potential play there with Dowdle, but ultimately I think Higgins and Sutton take the cake, but Higgins is the best of the bunch. Thank you. Alex Olibas sends in a question, says, hey Andrew, in a half PPR, I'm looking to fill in my last flex spot. I have Jalen Waddle, Ford, Reed, P. Ryan, and Wan'Dale Robinson. Got it. So, of the available, Reed is not startable. Injury, no Jordan Love. P. Ryan is okay, but not as great as the other potential options. I think Waddle's probably the guy. Even though I don't trust Skylar Thompson, when I just look at the pure talent level of Waddle in comparison, there's not anything that tells me that there's a possibility in which he doesn't get targeted today. He's going to get usage. It's just a matter of what is he capable of doing after the catch. And within this offense, again, it's really just going to be a pure, like, how do I explain this? What's the right jargon for this? Mike McDaniel, as the offensive coordinator, I guess he's just a play caller. He's not really, I guess he can also be considered the offensive coordinator besides being he doesn't have the title. But anyway, he's calling plays. Mike McDaniel is going to have to prove to everyone that his scheme is more valuable than the quarterback that sits underneath center. And I think it will prove that. We've seen it in San Francisco with Kyle Shanahan's scheme. It does not matter who plays quarterback for them. They will find success because the scheme demands it rather than the actual individual play. So I think the scheme itself will open up opportunities for Waddle to the extent to where he will be of value. If you were going to play anybody ahead of him, it would be Ford. But considering, again, the Foreman situation, I'd rather just play Waddle there and hope for the upside. Dave sends in a question, says London or Rachaad White in the flex half PPR. Let me see who I've ranked higher. It'd probably be White, but let me just confirm. That's full PPR. Got to change it to half. Control F, White. Okay, I have Rachaad White quite literally 4 spots ahead of Drake London. Very close, but I will take Rachaad White there. Thank you. We have Travis who says pick one in the flex. We have Ford, Brian Robinson, Juwan Jennings, and DeMarcus Robinson. Of the 4 available, we will take Brian Robinson Jr. there. Travis, thank you again. Hank Hennig sends in a question, says Raiders, Packers, Bills defense. Can't decide. Thanks, man. As it currently stands, the rankings for defense will pop up in this direction any moment now. Before it even gets there, I will just kind of read it off. So my top 12 defenses as it currently stands are Cleveland, San Francisco, Tampa Bay, Seattle, Steelers, Bills, Packers, Raiders. So Bills, Packers, Raiders would be the order at which we would go about it. So of the available you have, Bills would be the start, Packers second, Raiders third. They are back to back to back. So if in fact you prefer one over the other, you have a feeling about it, go for it. Again, I think they're all pretty solid plays within the given week based on matchup. Appreciate it, Hank. Thank you. Adam Amar says, is Ronnie Rivers worth a pickup for a handcuff? No. If in fact Carmen was to be injured, miss a time, etc., it is going to be Corum. Don't worry about Ronnie Rivers. Thank you. Chris sends in a question, says, in a full PPR start too, and then also one flex. Neighbors, London, Demarcus Robinson, Brian Thomas Jr., Jamal Williams. Thank you. Okay. Of the available, I would go in a full PPR. Let me check this. Okay, okay, yeah. Look, as it currently stands, I'm probably going in the direction of going Neighbors, London, and Thomas. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it. Frank H says in a full PPR flex spot, Charbonnet or Olave. Let me check who I've ranked higher in a full PPR. Full PPR flex. Where's Olave? Olave's there. I have Charbonnet. Is that a half PPR? Full PPR. Yep. I have Charbonnet ahead of him still. Thank you. Robert Jameson says, why Diggs over Shaheed? Shaheed is very much so dependent on scoring a 40-plus yard touchdown. I think outside of those scenarios, yes, he has the ability to make receptions down the field at a pretty consistent rate. He hasn't played in the second half. I understand that. But that deep ball receiving game, like, it is implied that if he doesn't score that huge play, the possibility of him potentially having similar value to Diggs in terms of if both of them don't score touchdowns, they'll probably have identical value. So then it's just a matter of, like, is Shaheed guaranteed for a big play touchdown? If he doesn't have that big play, unfortunately, I think Diggs kind of just slightly edges him out in that scenario. And I think there'll be less of a potential commitment to the running game if Houston struggles early, to the point to where they'd just have to bail out and go to the passing game exclusively in that game, which kind of elevates Diggs. Nick sends in a question. Says, non-PPR Pierce, Chase Brown, or Tyler Algier? Yeah, I'll take Pierce there. I have no issue with that. Thank you. Anthony O sends in a question, says, half PPR, Goddard or Ferguson at tight end? Ferguson, thank you. As for your follow-up, should I bench Terry McLaurin and start both tight ends? Let me check where I have Goddard comparatively. It's a half PPR, right? Yeah, half PPR. McLaurin. No, I have McLaurin ahead of Goddard, so I would still play McLaurin there alongside of Ferguson. As for your final question, full PPR flex, McLaurin, Alec Pierce, Brandon Cook. Yeah, I'd still play McLaurin there. So the first question again, Ferguson, then McLaurin second, then McLaurin third. Thank you, Anthony. Appreciate it. Nick Hines says, full PPR flex in Jigba, Hubbard, Kirk, Ford. Yeah, I'll take Jackson Smith there. Thank you. Trey sends in a question. Says, start Jordan Mason or Jonathan Taylor? I'll take Jordan Mason this week. Thank you. Kincaid or Ferguson? I'll take Ferguson. Thank you. Jacob sends in a question. Says, in a full PPR spot, pick one. Rico Dowdle, Najee Harris, Amari Cooper, Scary Terry, or Quentin Johnston. If I'm playing one of the potential five, it is Amari Cooper. Thank you. iShine101 says, I need upside, PPR, flex, 10-man, pick one. Najee Harris, Jawan Jennings, Deontay Johnson, Carson Steele. Okay, PPR upside, revolves around Jawan Jennings. If you were saying, hey, listen, we're just trying to get stable points, I'd even probably still suggest the same thing. In the absence of Kittle, Debo, McCaffrey, there should be a lot of usage for Jawan Jennings within the given week. I mentioned it earlier on in the Hidden Gems video. In the last 7 games in which he's had 5 or more targets, he's averaging nearly 10. I think it's like 9.8 fantasy points per game and a half PPR. So about over 11 fantasy points per game in a full PPR. So in those scenarios, again, at a base minimum, if he gets himself 10 points, has the upside of getting himself maybe a touchdown, 15, 16 plus, because of the matchup against that terrible secondary with a couple pieces missing due to injury. Josh Johnson's out for the season, I think, going to the IR. Maybe not out for the season, but definitely on the IR. Jawan Jennings is the play. Thank you. Retro Gandalf says PPR flex, Odunze, Pierce, Covey, Wanda Robinson, or Justice Hill. Pick one. If I'm playing one of the group, I do either have, let me check here. It's a full PPR. Change the ranking. As it currently stands, I do have Alec Pierce ranked the highest of the bunch. So I go Pierce number 1, Wanda Robinson 2. Retro Gandalf, thank you. J Ben finally follows up, says chat search don't work well. I mean, look, the chat search is just the control F function. So basically whatever's on screen and available, I try to find it. So it wasn't there, J Ben. Apologies. I'm glad that you did end up following up. It says McLaurin or Tyler Johnson this week. I'll take McLaurin. Thank you. Griffin Kozak says in a half PPR, Sutton, Steele, Akers, Waddle, or Spears. In a half PPR, I'm going to go with Akers there. Thank you, Griffin. Primetime 06 says Odunze, Terry McLaurin, Brian Thomas Jr. In a full PPR, I think I have Odunze and, sorry, not Odunze. I have McLaurin and Brian Thomas literally back to back. It's kind of a toss-up. If you have a feeling one way or the other, I'd suggest you go with your feeling. But as it currently stands, I do have Brian Thomas ranked higher. Okay, let's see here. Is there any new updates? Russell Wilson inactive, nothing crazy. Okay, cool. Anthony Sosa sends in a super chat. Nothing attached to it, though. Let me see if I can find what you had originally tried to attach to it, Anthony. Anthony Sosa, do me a favor, type in the chat what your question is. Until then, Ando in the chat says, Nick Chubb or Jonathan Brooks. Who do I prefer rest of the season? Probably Jonathan Brooks. I think Nick Chubb's knee injury is pretty brutal. Singletary or Whittington, says Andrew Tran in the chat. We'll take Singletary there. Big Fella says, what does that one say in the live chat? It says, Adam Thielen is above Deontay Johnson in the rankings. Johnson, not wide receiver 1. Being the wide receiver 1, like as in the X receiver, the guy that plays on the outside, doesn't technically mean that you're going to get the vast majority of the overall targets, right? So that logic could work because he's the wide receiver 1. He may get more. I just see that Thielen is more likely to get the targets because that pass rush, Christian Wilkins, Max Crosby, they're going to get after Andy Dalton's ass. He's going to have to get the ball out of his hands relatively quickly. So I'm assuming he's probably looking in the direction of Thielen there. Thank you, Farmer. I appreciate that. Thank you. Let's see. Okay, let's see. What else was in the live chat? Somebody said Carr or Richardson. Again, I could make the argument for Carr, but I prefer Richardson. What does it say? Dope It's Dev says, I have Debo and Cup on my team. Am I cooked, chat? I don't think you're cooked, but I think in a couple weeks you'll be better off, obviously, because they'll return from injury. All right, Anthony Sosa, did you find something? Did you end up typing? There it is. Neighbors, Olave, Collins, Lamb, PPR pick 3. Yeah, I think it's relatively easy in my mind, Anthony. Lamb has to play, Collins has to play, Olave has to play. Thank you. Anthony O sends in a question. Thank you, Anthony. Says McLaurin or Cam Akers in a half PPR. We'll take Cam Akers there. Thank you. Jacob Darusha says, full PPR, pick 1. Zamir White, Xavier Worthy, Lad McConkey, Quentin Johnson, Shakir. I'll take I will take Zamir White as the pick 1 there, Jacob. Thank you. Frosty sends in a question. Thank you, Frosty. Appreciate it. It says Pittman, Waddle, Jennings in a PPR. Between the bunch, I think I have Pittman ranked the highest, very slightly ahead of Jennings, though, and Waddle. So that's the direction I would go in. Thank you. Moving on, we had a question. It says Rashad White or Charbonnet. Again, yeah, I'm going Charbonnet there. Again, guys, rankings right here, up to date. So if you have any interpositional questions like Charbonnet or Rashad White, the rankings as they filter through will answer that. These are not rankings from like Tuesday or Wednesday. These are rankings from as of this morning. So hopefully that makes sense. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, let's go ahead. After Frosty's question, we had one from Ro Stackson. Thank you, Ro. Says, in a full PPR flex, do I start Worthy, Juwan Jennings, P. Ryan, Rome, or Jaden Reed? Between the bunch, I'm playing Juwan Jennings or Xavier. In a full PPR, I feel far more comfortable rolling with Juwan Jennings there, though. My starting wide receivers are Hill, Ayuk, Marvin Harrison. Quarterback is Kyler Murray or Jalen Hurts. Thanks. Listen, between Kyler Murray and Jalen Hurts, I would play Jalen Hurts every week until the end of time. I think it's very difficult to sit Jalen Hurts in any scenario. When you have the rushing upside ability that he does and the rushing touchdown upside with the quarterback push that they have, it makes it very, very difficult to be in a situation in which you start anybody else ahead of him. Except for, of course, Josh Allen, who has just as much rushing touchdown upside in comparison. So as it stands, I'm playing Jalen Hurts even without AJ Brown comfortably. As for your potential wide receiver flex play there, it's Juwan Jennings. Thank you. Okay, let's see here. What does that say? Okay. So, moving on. We had Carlos Lori who sent in a question. Thank you, Carlos. I appreciate it. Carlos says in the flex, full PPR. Would you go with Connor Charbonnet, Xavier, or JSN? I'd probably go with Charbonnet, full PPR. He wasn't very efficient with his rushing. I think he was like averaging like 3 yards per carry, almost like 2.9 last week. I think it'll definitely be a lot easier going up against the Miami Dolphins defense in comparison. Their run-stop defense, obviously in week 1 and week 2, not great. So Charbonnet should be a better play within the given week. Obviously, another week of experience as him as the lone starting back. Again, we don't really see any other running backs touch the ball. If Connor had an easier matchup, it would automatically be James Conner based on how he's played. But yeah, I'll take Charbonnet in the given week in a full PPR with his rushing and receiving ability. Thank you. All right, we had a question that came in from F1 Mafia, who says in a full PPR, Waddle, Akers, Dell, Singletary in the flex. Let me check where I have Dell, Akers, and Waddle comparatively to one another in a full PPR. So as it stands, okay, so there's where Waddle sits. So now where is Dell is ahead of him, and Akers is ahead of him. So Akers would be the play. Thank you. Appreciate it. So we got Akers, Dell, Waddle, Singletary in that order. Thank you. We have Dog Mentality, who says in a PPR, pick one of Jennings, Coleman, Thomas Jr., Akers, or Pirine. Let me check where I have Akers comparatively to Juwan Jennings. I do, in fact, have him ahead of Juwan Jennings. Akers takes the role there. Thank you. F1 Mafia follows up and says Tampa Bay, Kansas City, Seattle defense this week. Again, the rankings that are on screen are up to date, and they will probably take precedent over everything. So of the available, I'm taking Tampa Bay's defense, and I'm starting them against Bo Nix and that offense. Thank you. Appreciate it, F1. Stephen Bowman sends in a question, says, hey, Andrew, start 2 wide receivers in a full PPR. We have Deontay Johnson, Khalil Shakir, Josh Downs, Christian Watson, Christian Kirk, and Ladd McConkey. Of the available that you mentioned, Deontay Johnson and Khalil Shakir probably are the 2 plays. Yeah, those are the 2 plays. Thank you. Alex Apking sends in a question, says, Mason, Jacobs, Henry, Kamara. I need an RB1, RB2 flex out of this group. Okay, Kamara's number 1. Mason's number 2. Henry's number 3. In a full PPR. Thank you. Appreciate it. Have a good one, Alex. F1 Mafia has a follow-up. Says, thoughts on Akers versus Ford as well? Yeah, listen. I've mentioned it before. If, in fact, Deontay Foreman did not exist, and Deontay Foreman was not as involved in the offense as he was last week with 14 rushing attempts, if he was not available, I would have Jerome Ford probably as a top 15 back this week. But considering there is a looming threat of potential touches being taken away, goal line work from Jerome Ford, it is an implied risk that I'm not willing to take in comparison to Akers, who will have this entire backfield to himself outside of a potential couple sprinkles of Derek Gumbawale, coming in on third downs, etc. But yeah, I prefer Akers in that circumstance. Thank you. Duckers05 says in a half PPR league, Gabe Davis, Quentin Johnston, Tyler Lockett. Out of those options, I'll take Quentin Johnston there. Thank you. All right. Sal Espinoza sends in a question, says in a half PPR, Ford, Hubbard, Quentin Johnston, BTJ, or Reed. I'll take Hubbard there out of the group. Thank you. Let's see. Robert says in a half PPR, Akers or Ridley in the flex. Yeah, let me check my rankings just to confirm once again. If we go to half PPR and we go look up Ridley, Akers is ahead of him. Thank you. Brian sends in a question. Says, traded Brian Robinson and Charbonnet for DJ Moore. If you can afford losing running backs, sure. Again, Charbonnet is only valuable if you have Kenneth Walker or if Kenneth Walker's missing time. Kenneth Walker should be healthy going forward starting next week. Again, he was practicing a little bit, but not with pads. Just kind of running around just to see how his oblique felt. Obviously, he was still struggling. That's why they didn't start him, but once he does return, Charbonnet doesn't really have much value outside of being a handcuff. And then Brian Robinson versus DJ Moore is just a matter of, can you afford to lose running back depth and still survive? So don't mind it, just very much dependent on if you have that depth. Evans or Flowers? I'm probably playing Flowers there pretty comfortably. I'd consider playing Evans in like a standard league where it's 0 points per reception, but Flowers is pretty solid there. Should I start London or Akers in a half PPR? Let me see where I have them ranked accordingly. As of right now, in a half PPR, I have London ahead of Akers. Thank you for the question. We still believing in Pittman being a top 30 wide receiver with Andy Richardson at the helm? I mean, look, here's the thing. Pittman has been a top 30, top 24 wide receiver with Gardner Minshew, with Matt Ryan, and a bad Matt Ryan, and Carson Wentz. So he has been a top tier wide receiver regardless of who he's played with. Thus far, obviously hasn't played up to standard, still getting himself a good share of targets. I still believe in the potential because I know the talent is there for Pittman. As for the talent being there for Anthony Richardson to get him the ball on a consistent basis, we know that the offense is predicated on getting the ball to their top two options, Jonathan Taylor and Michael Pittman. Has that worked thus far? No, but I'm sure it is still going to revolve around those two being the breadwinners of the offense. So hopefully it'll begin to tilt back in his direction going forward. All right, going down, we had a question that came in from Tony. Tony Dangles says, full PPR, Higgins on a snap count, question mark. Where's the report? If you guys can show me a report that says that Higgins is going to be on a snap count, then I will oblige and I will continue as such, but I don't think that they're going to put him on a snap count of sorts. Let's see here. I'm looking at, there's nothing. So if he is, I'll take it to the shins. If you want to play Moss in exchange, that's perfectly fine. Let me check where I have Moss in comparison in a full PPR. Let's see here. Zach Moss. So Zach Moss, I do have ahead of T. Higgins anyway in a full PPR. So I'll just play Zach Moss there. Thank you. You don't even have to question it, Tony. You're good to go. Jake D'Antonio says, in a full PPR, start two with Rico Dowdle, Ty Chandler, Quentin Johnston. All right, let me check where I have them ranked. So if we look up Johnston, I have it as Quentin Johnston and Rico Dowdle as the two starts. Thank you. Appreciate the question. Moving on, we had a question that comes in from Josh, 1981 more, who says, start three, Jamar Chase, Flowers, Malik Neighbors, Devontae Smith. Yeah, Jamar Chase, Flowers, Devontae Smith. Those are my three starts this week. Thank you. Again, great matchups, great players, perfect scenario. Hey guys, should I start Deontay Foreman or Tyler Algier, says Quentin XD? Yeah, play Deontay Foreman there this week. Thank you. iShine101 says, half point per reception, pick one flex, 12-team league, Josh Downs, Zach Moss, Scary Terry, Ty Chandler. iShine101, play Zach Moss there. Thank you. Chase, Flowers, and Smith. Yeah, those are the easy ones. Thank you, Josh. Richardson or Purdy? Yeah, we'll take Richardson there. That's perfectly fine. Worthy or Reed? Again, without Jordan Love, I'm not playing Reed, so I'll definitely take the opportunity of playing Worthy there. Jay Glazer, as of Fox, said the Panthers have rejected trade offers for Bryce Young. Yeah, we don't care. Really, we don't care. We do not care. Justin Fields in the rankings? Yeah, let me tell you where he's at. So as it currently stands, Justin Fields in my quarterback rankings, 4 point per passing touchdown, is my number 19 quarterback. So just outside of the window. But again, he's going to have to score rushing touchdowns and have to complete passing touchdowns on a far more consistent basis if he wants to be ranked in the top 16. Because obviously he hasn't produced as such thus far. Madison could be a sneaky pick today. Absolutely. No problem. I have no objection to that. He could be a sneaky pick, but again, it's very much so of whether or not he actually lives up to that potential. Okay, again, for those of you who are joining us this morning, welcome. Hope you guys are doing well. Again, we are 50 minutes away from kickoff of week 3 of the Sunday slate of games. Again, after the live stream, I'm sure all of us will be watching NFL Red Zone with Scott Hansen. Should be a fun, of course, couple games here. The Monday morning, don't forget, Mondays there's 2 games, okay? So we have Cincinnati versus Washington on Monday, along with Jacksonville versus Buffalo. So a lot of potential happenings tomorrow night. So just keep an eye on that. Just remember that. Additionally, if you guys did sign up via Underdog from August 1st, 2024 to yesterday, the rankings have been sent to you. My email directly to yours, whatever email is associated with the Underdog account. If you are a member of the Patreon, rankings are posted, so use those as the end-all, be-all precedent taker. Thank you. Appreciate it. Moving on. We had a question that came from KJ, who says, Jennings, Demarcus Robinson, or Shaheed? Says 1/2 PPR, so half PPR, pick one. If I'm picking 1.5 PPR, it's Rashid Shaheed there, KJ. Thank you. Grant says, Waddle or Hubbard? Grant, what's your scoring format, my man? I probably have time to look up both where I have them ranked, but just curious. Okay, so Waddle is there. in a full PPR. Where is Hubbard in a full PPR? Hubbard is going to be ranked lower in a full PPR, but in a half PPR, Hubbard is ranked higher. So half PPR Hubbard, full PPR Waddle, standard Hubbard. Thank you. All right, Tris sends in a question: is half PPR JSN or T Higgins? We will take JSN there. Thank you, appreciate it. Again, for those of you who are sending in these questions, I greatly appreciate the support, but the rankings for half PPR are right here. They're right here. I literally give them for free. I want you guys to succeed. I literally do. So again, it's there, available. If you want it, use it. If not, no problem. Thank you. Appreciate it. Darnold or Purdy? I have Purdy there, but I think Darnold's my number 18 quarterback this week. McLaurin or Ford in a full point per passing touchdown league. I'll take McLaurin there. Richardson or Carr. I'm playing Richardson. I can justify the Carr play. Zamir White, Spears, or Cam Akers. Cameron plays Zamir White. Brian Walker says Dobbins, Flowers, or Diggs. I will play Flowers there very comfortably. Thank you. Who should I start in my... What does it say? In my flex? DJ Moore, Brian Robinson Jr. Depends. I think... Brian Robinson's the start in a half PPR. Let me see where I have DJ Moore in a full PPR comparatively. I'm going to assume I still... In a full PPR, I have DJ Moore one spot ahead of Brian Robinson. I was about to say, I'm pretty sure he's relatively close. But yeah, half PPR Brian Robinson, full PPR DJ Moore, but very slightly. Honestly, could justify playing Brian Robinson in every format in this circumstance. So no problem there. All right, thank you. Let's see here. We had a question that came in from Limard234, who says the following. PPR, Waddle or Ford? I'll take Waddle there. Thank you. David Garcia says Jennings or David Montgomery in a full PPR. I'll take David Montgomery. Thank you. Auntie Slayer sends in a question. Auntie Slayer says, my rushing points are 0. Okay, so 1 yard per rushing. Okay, so you get a 0.1 per rushing yard. 10 yards equals 1 point. Very well. Receptions are 1. Okay, Yep, full PPR. Got it. It says, is this a full or half PPR? This has nothing. Okay, so Auntie Slayer. The statistics that you provided don't explain whether it's a half point per reception or full point. Again, once you go into your settings, it is very much so per reception, not per yardage. That's what you got to figure out. So yeah. Says, I lost last week by less than 1 point because of the Hurts pick. Why? Because you played Jalen Hurts, you lost? If you lose playing Jalen Hurts after that performance, I mean, you were just meant to lose. It wasn't really a matter of anything happening. But, because of the pick, like the interception he threw. Got it. Understood. Thank you, Slayer, for the context. My bad. I was like, if you have... Listen, if you have Jalen Hurts, you live and die by his performances. That's just... I mean, he's a great player. He's got incredible upside. If he loses you a week, so be it. He's going to win you many. Why do you have Geno and Baker over Purdy? Because Purdy doesn't have Debo, McCaffrey, or Kittle. That's why. Thank you. Let's see here. Chris B, the RD, says, in a full PPR, Worthy, Higgins, Zamir White flex. I'm going to play Zamir White there. Thank you. John says, PPR, flex Pittman or Quentin Johnston? I'll take Pittman there. I'm ready to get hurt again, guys. I'm ready to be hurt again. Gavin sends in a question, says Pittman or Dell in the flex. I think I'm still going, I think I've Dell relatively closely ranked behind him, but it's not. Yeah, Dell is literally one spot behind him in a full PPR. Let me see. Is it in a half PPR? Is he ahead of him? No, they're still in the same spot. Thank you. All right, let me check something really quickly just so we're on the same page. Okay, we go there. We had a question that came in from Evan Sellis, who says, PPR, I have Bijan, Mason, Zamir, Ford, Brian Robinson Jr., Dowdle. My wide receivers are Debo, Evans, Pittman, Shakir, Thielen. Want to trade for a top wide receiver? Any suggestions? Yeah. So if you're looking to try to trade for a top 12 wide receiver, considering what you currently have on roster, you are probably in the best position to wait this week out, let it play through, take Mason, and go and trade him away for a running back or a receiver in return. Hopefully, if you were in a position to where Pittman or Zamir White have themselves big performances, maybe you could take Zamir, Pittman, and Zamir, Pittman, and Mason and ship them all in order to bring back a running back and a wide receiver that could serve you better for the future. That's kind of the thought process. As for who we're looking for, again, it's very much so going to be a matter of going after players that have kind of sold the bag recently, but we know have incredible upside going forward. So the immediate names that I would have thought, at least what I suggested on Monday's video of buy lows, were Olave's of the world, Ayuk's of the world, Drake London prior to the game on Monday, again, still willing to go buy low on him if people think low of him. Jamar Chase, etc. So if people are going to be kind of not so interested in players that were in like the top 20 wide receiver rankings that we had in the preseason and are still going to be low on those players, I'd still go target those guys. Thank you. Okay, we had a question that came in from Carlos Laurie who says, in a full PPR, should I play Ford, Dobbins, or Pickens? Let me check where I have Dobbins in comparison to Pickens in a full PPR. Dobbins. I have Dobbins 4 spots ahead of Pickens. I'm still going to play. Yeah, I'll take Dobbins there. I'm comfortable with that. Rogo says, good morning, bro. Final team or make changes. Standard half PPR, CJ Stroud, Diggs, Shaheed, Gibbs, Mason, Kincaid, Montgomery. Moody as their kicker. Green Bay as their defense. We have Baker, who I'm not playing. Higgins, in comparison to what you have available, not playing. Swift, not playing. Chase Brown, not playing. Jennings, not playing. Debo, not. Yeah, you're good to go there, Rogo. Thank you. Appreciate it. Let's see here. Auntie Slayer says the following. Says, is my league full or half PPR? The statistics you gave me does not actually answer the question. Do you understand what PPR means, Auntie Slayer? PPR is point per reception. So you have to go into your league and find how many points you get per reception. Otherwise, I cannot determine that for you. Majarkis, that's the name. Majarkis says, PPR, start 3, Godwin, Devontae Smith, Ayuk, Charbonnet. I'll probably go with all 3 of the receivers. Maybe I play Charbonnet over Godwin, but quite frankly, off the top of my head, I'm kind of comfortable rolling with all the receivers there. It's close. Yeah, I have all 3 receivers over Charbonnet in a full PPR. Thank you, Majarkis. Lamosity says, in a half PPR, should I trade Stevenson and Kirk for Zamir White and DK Metcalf? I have Kamara, Barkley, Harrison, and Chase, then Stevenson as my flex. So theoretically, you'd be flexing DK rest of the season in a half PPR. I'm okay with that. That's fine by me. No issue there. If you want to make that swap and pivot, that's fine by me. Solid trade, pretty even across the board. Let's see here. Connor Rudden says, Jerome Ford or London in a half PPR. Thanks, Andy. I'll go with London there. Thank you. Corey Hoover says, Tank Dell or Charbonnet. We'll take Charbonnet this week. Thank you. Josh, 1981 more says, Laporta or Bowers? I have Bowers ahead of Laporta. So whether that answers your question properly may not answer your question fully, because yes, I would play Bowers over Laporta this week, but Laporta could probably play in your flex, if anything. Yeah, but I'd like to play them both, but you should probably look to trade one of them in the coming weeks here. All right, let's see here. We had a question that comes in from Pedro Lucario, who says, in a standard, trouble choosing between Rice and Harrison. I think the lack of a running game for the potential Chiefs offense today is going to lead towards more usage of the receiving game. We should see Patrick Mahomes put up more than 151 passing yards. But the promising thing about Rice is wherever Patrick Mahomes goes in the passing game, however much he improves in that capacity, he is implied for a lot of the usage. Again, he had 50% of the receiving yards last week. So Rice is the play. He's just the more stable of the bunch. And if he continues to be the primary red zone target like he has been all of last season and thus far this season in terms of targets, usage, etc., Rice is just the better of the two. But yeah, sitting Marvin Harrison for a second week in a row, Pedro, I can understand that makes you sick to your stomach. You need to start making trades, brother. You can't be having all these stud players on your team. You just can't do it, because then it's just going to kill you as you continue on. All right, J-Bo sends in a super chat. There wasn't anything attached to it, J-Bo, so let me see if I can find your question in the live chat, J-Bo. Control F, J-Bo. J-Bo says, no Justin Fields in the ranking? Nope. Justin Fields hasn't done anything to prove that he is a top 16 quarterback. Like, just specifically, if I was to reference it to the last 2 weeks of performances in terms of a 4-point per passing touchdown league, let's see here. Fields has ranked as quarterback 19 and quarterback 24. I have him this week as my quarterback. Where is he? He's my quarterback 19. I mean, again, that seems pretty correct. I didn't even line it up because of that, but it happens to be there. Do I start Kelsey or Akers? I'm assuming that's what you meant, Jose. I'd play Kelsey over Akers pretty comfortably as well. Thank you. All right, let's see here. Let me refresh this just so the chat kind of refreshes itself and it's on the right page. Okay, cool. Continuing on with questions, we had Kamikaze who says, half PPR, start 2 flex, Singletary, Deontay Johnson, Kirk, or Keon Coleman. Out of the potential options here, I think it's for sure playing Deontay. As for Singletary and Kirk, let me check. I think I have Singletary probably ranked higher if I had to guess. Let me confirm this. Singletary is ahead of him. So yeah, Singletary and Deontay would be the plays there. Thank you. Appreciate it. We move on to Dylan's question who says, Luke McConkey. I don't think that's the name. You've mixed up Luke McCaffrey and Lad McConkey. I'm going to assume that you meant McConkey either way. Or Jordan Whittington. We'll take McConkey there. Thank you. Key Lloyd sends in a question. Says, full PPR. Judy, Demarcus Robinson, Ford in the flex. I'll take Judy in a full PPR there. In a full PPR, I'll take Judy. Yeah, we'll take Judy. I'm not gonna second question it. I'll mess around with it. Thank you. JJ sends in a question, says PPR Akers or Dobbins. I'll take Dobbins there. Thank you. Andrew Cunningham sends in a question, says in a half PPR, Reed Mooney, Javonte Williams. I will take Javonte happily. Thank you. Jack says, is the Raiders defense a trap this week? If so, play the Bengals. Where do I have the Bengals comparatively? Do I even have the Bengals on my list? I have the Bengals as my number 14 defense, so they're not technically on screen. Are the Raiders a trap defense this week? I don't think so. If Andy Dalton comes out and lights up this defense, I will be lights up as in like I'm talking about 250 and 2 touchdowns. If he does that, I will be legitimately surprised. But it's always it's in the realm of possibility. I don't think it's impossible for that to occur. Calvin75 sends in a question. Nothing attached to it, though. Calvin, anything in the live chat? Nothing? Do me a favor, Calvin. Type in the chat. Thank you. Chris Owen sends in a question. Says, was there no quarterback and tight end video this week? No, there was not. But the reason why I didn't post it is because I knew that today I posted rankings on the screen. So hopefully the rankings that are going to show up here in about 12 seconds will take priority. Because they are, again, rankings up to date as of this morning. So if you are interested, again, play it as such or go on with whatever you'd like. But yeah, as for the reason why we didn't have a, what's it called? As for the reason for why we didn't have a video in regards to quarterbacks and tight ends, I prioritized hidden gems and trade targets. So again, here's the rankings. If you're interested, thank you. Calvin, are you sending anything in here? Calvin. Anything? Nothing from Calvin yet. Okay. So as for the rest of your question here, Chris Owens, it says, if that's okay, I still have a quarterback question, if that's okay. Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, or Geno Smith today? Geno Smith, thank you. Jabo says, Andrew, you actually didn't answer my questions. Jabo, there wasn't anything attached to your message, brother. I mean, usually when there's nothing attached to it, what happens is I have to go to the live chat. If your message isn't in the live chat, then at that point I have to just default to just waiting for you to type it in, and then I eventually come back to it. I usually don't forget, so I do appreciate you coming out and reminding me that you did send in a question. But yes, you got to make sure that it gets attached to the super chat. If it doesn't get attached, it makes my life a living hell. But again, I appreciate the support. Let's get to your question. Let's see here. So the only question that I see in the live chat, Jabo, is also, should I trade CMC and Brooks for Bijan? That's the only thing I see. The answer is yes. But that's the only question I see in the live chat. Again, you got to remember, when you guys send in your super chats, by the time I get to it, it's probably like a 5-minute gap. In those 5 minutes, this chat moves fast enough to where the message you typed in there disappears entirely because of how quickly it updates. So again, you gotta be around. You gotta be typing this message. So whatever your question was, go copy it and paste it back in here because again, it wasn't attached to your super chat, Jabo. Thank you. They're sending $1 with no question to avoid character restrictions, Andrew. Is that how it works? Got it. So if there's a character restriction based on it, I mean, again, you got to be on it. You got to be on your stuff. You got to be immediately following up and spamming your question in the live chat so that once I get to it, I can find it. Thank you. All right. So I'm waiting for Jabo to send that through. Until then, I'm going to continue to answer some other questions. We have Jesse Rose, who says Juan. He typed in. Well, I guess that's not. Okay, anyway, doesn't matter. Juwan Jennings, or wait, you put Juwan Johnson? Wait, who the heck is. Wait. You put Juan Johnson. You didn't even put Juwan. Well, I guess it could be Juwan. It depends on how you spell it. Doesn't matter. I'm assuming I'm assuming you meant Juwan Jennings or Waddle. I'll take Juwan Jennings there, full PPR. Chris Kreider, there was nothing attached to it. Let me see if I can find your question. Chris Kreider says Ridley or Chuba in a full PPR. I'll take Ridley there. Thank you. All right, let's see if Jabo typed in the live chat. Jabo, you there? Please and thank you, Jabo. Where you at? Jabo, where you at? There it is. Keon Coleman, Shakir, or Najee Harris in the flex today. Baker or Dak? Okay, I'll take Dak Prescott. Additionally, I'll take Najee Harris. Thank you, Jabo, for your patience. All right, after Jesse Rose, we continue on with the following question. Chris Kreider, we took care of as well. Good to go. Drew Sorensen Music says, Drew Sorensen, do you actually play music? Should I click on your channel? Let's see here. Drew Sorensen Music. Let's go look this up. Drew Sorensen Music. See if I can go to, can this thing actually work? Potentially. Channel. All right, I can't find it. I'm an idiot. Moving on. Just wanted to say you're the GOAT of Sunday morning fantasy content. No question. Thanks for all that you do. Thank you very much, Drew. I actually want to see if I can find your channel, though. That's the thing. Maybe if I can go here and then I get the full name of it. Yeah, it's just Drew Sorensen Music. Yeah, you do actually play music. All right, I'll check this out, Drew. Hey, let's go. That's awesome. All right, let's see here. King Carl 2012 says Jameson Williams or Tyreek Hill. Am I insane? Are you insane? No. Would I do it? No. Would I suggest it? No. But can you do it? Abso-fucking-lutely. I don't think it's a terrible decision. I think it's just one that is risky because of the talent of Tyreek Hill. But I understand the decision if you make it. Chef sends it a question, or if everybody's favorite show is The Bear, Jeff sends it a question. Says full PPR, Mark Andrews, Tank Dell, or Najee Harris? In a full PPR, oof. Let's see here. Full PPR. See where I have Mark Andrews comparatively. Najee's there. Mark Andrews there. Yeah, I have Mark Andrews ahead of the bunch. Thank you. Mike Doe says, good morning. Full PPR flex, Xavier Worthy or Christian Kirk? I'll play Xavier Worthy there. I hesitate a little bit, but I'll take it. Jackson says, Josh Allen or Sam Darnold this week? Good one. Good one, brother. We'll take Josh Allen. You know, no. I'm not even going to troll. We'll just take Josh Allen there. Thank you. How do we feel about Lazard? A lot better than we did last week. I'll tell you that much. Phil sends in a question, says, a bit of a weird one. It's a league where it's 1 point per yard, 6 points per touchdown, 1 point per reception. 1 point per yard. Okay, so touchdowns and receptions are irrelevant is what you're telling me. Continuing on. My flex, I am considering 3 running backs, James Conner, Etienne Robinson. Yeah, okay, so if you're playing one of them and we want the most yardage potential, I would probably lean in the direction of Etienne out of the group. That's the direction I would play in. Thank you, Phil. 1 point per yard. Pretty crazy. Let's see here. Deco says, Cousins or Darnold? Let me check who I've ranked higher. If I go to my rankings, as it currently stands, I have Darnold as my number 18 and Cousins as my number 20. So I would go with Darnold there this week. Thank you. Auntie Slayer says, full PPR, 2 flex. Jalen Warren, Deontay Foreman, Leggett, BTJ, Tyler Johnson, Bateman, Tolbert, Boyd, Elijah Moore, Michael Wilson, Josh Reynolds. Thank you. Okay, so of the available that you do have here, Auntie Slayer, BTJ and Josh Reynolds are the 1-2 combo in a full PPR. Thank you. Much appreciated. Bradley T says full PPR, Thielen or Akers? Let me check who I have ranked higher. Thielen is in fact below Akers in a full PPR. So Akers is the play. Thank you. Again, I like Thielen a lot, guys. I'm just not willing to overdose on Thielen this week. I don't want to get caught out in a trap game, you know? We move on to a question that comes in from Andrew Mang, who says, hey, Andrew, another question. JSN or James Conner, full PPR? Let me check who I have ranked higher. I'm going to assume that it's Conner. It is, in fact, Conner. 2 spots ahead of Jackson Smith in that scenario. Thank you. Tano Martin sends in a question, says 12 team PPR. I have Murray, HN, Mason, Rice, St. Brown, Kincaid, Henry at the flex. Very well. Ayuk and Charbonnet on the bench. I don't like that. But in comparison to what you have on roster, kind of have to stick with that. Wait, hold up. You're benching Ayuk. Let me see. Do I have Ayuk ranked higher than Henry in a full PPR? Let me just cross-reference. Ayuk is, in fact, higher ranked than Derrick Henry. So that would be the only suggestion that I would potentially change with. But even in your scenario, if you'd like to keep Henry there, keep Henry there. I don't have anything that's like a necessity to move, but I do have Ayuk ahead of Henry. That's it. Thank you. JC says Thielen or Waddle in a full PPR. Again, I don't want to overdose on Thielen. Like, I do believe in him wholeheartedly, but I don't want to have my internal bias take over, so I have him right behind Waddle. Back-to-back ranked. Waddle's ahead of him. Marcus Nellum says, full PPR. Pick 2. Higgins, Cooper, Thielen. Higgins and Cooper. Thank you. Appreciate it. Let's see here. Where are we at? We had Adil Hassan, who says, full PPR, Pitts or Pickens? I believe I have Pitts ranked higher. Let me confirm this. I do have Kyle Pitts ranked higher. Again, the matchup for Pitts against Kansas City. Kansas City has allowed a ridiculous amount of points to opposing tight ends thus far this season. They are the best matchup at the position. Pitts should have a far better week than he has over the course of the last couple of performances here. So Pitts is the play. Adil says, I make music, just released an album. All right. I'll be sure to, let me see here. Dude, do you all make music? This is great. Let's see here. Do you have it attached to your channel? Because I'll be happy to listen to it. Let's see here, Adil Hassan. 9.5K. Okay, hey, let's go. All right, listen. I got a couple things to listen to. Good for you guys. I like this. Damn, you actually have some good views. 35K. Holy shit. 56K, brother. What the? We're cooking, huh? You even have bruh, you're just up my alley. You have a song that has Thanos as the thumbnail. I mean, let's go. Here we go. Okay, anyway, moving on. Thank you, Adil Hassan. Jorge Perez sends in a question. Jorge, thank you. Jorge Perez says, good morning, Andrew. In a full PPR, 3 wide receivers are starting. We have Devontae and Dell. Other options are Mooney, Wando Robinson. Can drop Juwan Jennings and get... Can drop Juwan and get Jennings. That doesn't make sense. But... rest of team is Hurts, Kamara, Mason, Kyron, 49ers group. Okay, so in your scenario here, if you could theoretically pick up Juwan Jennings and play him, I would suggest you doing so. Would that require you to drop Mooney or Wandale Robinson? Sure, potentially. If you were to drop potentially one of those two, I'd probably drop Wandale Robinson there and pick up Juwan Jennings. Thank you. Appreciate it, Jorge. We move on to Jeffrey Navarro. Jeffrey, don't see a question, but hopefully it's in the chat. Let me see if I can look up Navarro. Sorry if you answered already. Jeffrey, I don't see your question yet, brother. Do me a favor and type it in the chat and I can get to it immediately. Thank you. All right, let's see here. We scroll to the next question on tap. We go to Eduardo M, who says, flex play and future stash advice. Javonte or Chandler, Odunze, Leggett, Adonai Mitchell, drop any to stash Whittington or Naylor? No, I'd keep Javonte as the flex play this week and I'd keep the rest of them. Actually, I'd be willing to drop AD Mitchell for Whittington. That's it. Thank you. Alexander sends in a question. I don't see anything attached to it, Alexander. Maybe we can... Oh, Calvin, I got you. Let me get you in a second real quick. So Calvin needs to be answered. Alexander needs to be found. And then who was the other one? It was Jeffrey Navarro. So Navarro. Okay. So let's get to Calvin's question. Calvin75 said, in a half PPR 10-team league, play T. Higgins over Kyron, Pollard. No, not doing either of those. In one of my 2 flexes, nullify Burrow. Nope. Opponent has Burrow. No, don't care for it. I'd rather just play the better players overall. I'm not worried about the matchups of who you're taking on in the given week. So, yeah, give me Pollard and give me Kyron there, Calvin. Thank you for the question, though. Sebastian Alex says, half PPR Ridley or Chuba Hubbard. I think I have Chuba Hubbard ranked higher. Let me confirm this. Half PPR. Half PPR, Chuba. Nope, I have Calvin Ridley ahead of him. Calvin Ridley would be the play there. As for the Higgins versus JSN, I will take JSN there. So JSN Ridley, thank you, Sebastian Alex. Appreciate it. So we are looking for Navarro's question. Let's see if we can find it in the live chat. Nothing yet. Control F. Anything? Navarro. Worthy or Hill? Yeah, without a doubt, we're playing. I'm assuming if that's Tyreek Hill in any sort of capacity, he gets the start. I'm starting Rice already, but I don't like Skylar Thompson at quarterback. Listen, trust me, as someone who watches football quite literally every day, all day, I don't like Skylar Thompson either. But when it comes to talent and the volume of opportunity that Hill will receive, again, the last time he played in a game in which he started with Skylar Thompson was the wild card game 2022. It was actually in the year of 2023, but it was the 2022 season against the Bills. Tyreek Hill had 15 targets. Like, Skylar Thompson knows to get the ball in the right direction. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. I'd play Tyreek Hill there. Thank you. So we took care of Navarro. We took care of Calvin. Now we need to find Alexander says Rashad White, Zach Moss, or wait. Alexander says Rashad White, Zach Moss, or Jamison Williams. Pick two in a standard scoring format. Damn. Standard scoring format, if we're just relying on yardage and touchdowns isolated, I probably play both running backs, which I don't love, but I think it is the proper play of the group. Let me check something really quickly. Where do I have Jamison in comparison to Zach Moss in this kind of a format? Yeah, it's both the running backs. Both the running backs take the start in this scenario. Thank you for the question, Alexander. All right, we move on and we continue with the question that came in from. Okay, so we took care of Sebastian Alex as well. We go to Stephen Bowman, who says in a follow-up, says, Andrew, my chat is gone. Start two, wide receivers, full PPR, Shakir, Deontay Johnson. I think we answered this earlier, but either way, we'll answer it again if you didn't hear it the first time. We will take Deontay Johnson and land. Actually, no, it's Deontay Johnson and Shakir in this scenario. Thank you, Stephen. Johnny Coffey sends in a question, says, James Conner or James Cook in a full PPR? We'll take James Cook there. I know they're very close in your rankings. Just want a final decision on that. Yeah, I'll take James Cook. Thank you. Vic84 says in a full PPR, start two wide receivers, one flex. Pittman, T. Higgins, Cooks, Adunze, Pollard, Ferguson, Connor. Okay, so very tough, very difficult decision. Pollard is in the flex. T. Higgins and Pittman are in the wide receiver spot. Should I drop Elliott for Groupie? I would probably say yes. Thank you. Okay, moving on to Robert. Abramian sends in a question. Let's see here, Robert. Where are you at? Says, Andrew, can you tell us why you feel good about Akers? Yeah, volume of opportunity. That's really it. Listen, guys, I preach it more than just about anybody. Opportunity leads to success in fantasy football. But last week, the Houston Texans gave their running backs 18 rushing attempts and 8 targets. Okay, the week prior, they gave their running backs nearly 40 rushing attempts. They're going to give their running backs an abundance of opportunity because that's exactly how their offensive coordinator wants to run this offense. They want to rely upon the running game so they can open up for play action. So why I trust in Akers is because the volume of opportunity is going to be there. They're a higher scoring offense. They will probably be implicated to potentially having a goal line opportunity. And when they do, Akers would benefit in that. So very similar in the idea where whenever Kenneth Walker's gone, I'm playing Charbonnet. If you're associated with a good offense, you're going to be the 3-down back. You're going to have opportunity, and you're going to have a potential for a touchdown. You're in the conversation of being an automatic starter every week. And Akers honestly looked good last week, even in the in Mixon holding out. He had 7 attempts for 32 rushing yards and a reception. Like again, he's implicated to get so many touches to where the value is just kind of sits there in a baseline. As for upside, again, for every player, it is very much so dependent on their personal skill and the opportunities. You never know. Some player might get, sacked, strip fumbled, and a turnover occurs on the 1-yard line. The next play, Najee Harris punches it in, scores a touchdown. Those are the kind of things that you cannot expect or you cannot predict, but we can expect and potentially predict opportunities which lead to success. So that's the primary thing, Robert. Thank you. Thiago sends in a question. Says, trade Pittman and Ford for JSN and Chase. I'm okay with it. I don't love it, but I'm okay with it. I think it's a relatively lateral shift. I don't think it's an upgrade per se. Chase would have to outright win the job. Andrew Soria says, JSN, Shaheed, or Neighbors in the flex full PPR. I'm relatively sure I have JSN ranked the highest of the bunch. Let me confirm this. JSN sits there. He is the ranked highest of the bunch. Thank you. We had Nick James, music. Is there another music person? Okay, here we go. We're going to look that one up too. We've got a lot to listen to. It says Puka, Debo, on IR. Start Higgins, McLaurin, Deontay, or Shakir. Out of the group, I'd play Higgins. Also, I need 2 flex out of the above or these. Okay, got it. In a full PPR, so if I'm playing a wide receiver, I'm playing Higgins. The 2 flex options that I would go with are probably McLaurin and Deontay there. Thank you. C. Crip says, DK or James Conner in the full PPR? I'll take DK there. Thank you. Alex sends in a question. Says, what should I do with Waddle? Everyone's scared of him. Yeah, listen, we should be scared of him. But if you don't have a better option in comparison to the rankings, it's probably just smart to play him because of his talent level. But yeah, the fear is either going to be exacerbated to the extent to where we're all going to buy in on the idea that we cannot start him anymore after this week's performance, or we're going to be in a situation in which he performs, he's decent, and we're like, all right, we can survive. So it's either going to get worse or get better. I don't know if it'll stay the same. Let's see here, Nick James. You got music too? You do have music too. All right, we're looking at it up next. Dude, how does everybody got music? This is crazy. Y'all are talented. All right, let's see here. Moving on. We had a question that came from, we took care of C. Crip. We took care of Alex. Thank you again. Alex, appreciate that. But as of right now, what do we do with Waddle? I think we give him a chance this week. If not, if he doesn't do much, then we'll know never to touch him again until Tua returns, or potentially trade him accordingly. Conrad Voss sends in a question. Says in a half PPR, Richardson versus Carr. I prefer Richardson. If you want to play Carr, you can. Flex McLaurin or McConkey or Pierce or Reed. I'll take McLaurin there. Thank you. As for your the next question, we have Anthony T, who says Singletary or Alec Pierce. I'll take in a full PPR. At that point, Singletary could also score in the running game. That's the issue. Full PPR. Let me see where I have Singletary accordingly. Singletary is there. Alec Pierce is a little bit lower. I'll take Singletary there. Thank you. We move on to Belly, who sends in a question. PPR, Aaron Jones, Swift, Thielen. We'll take Aaron Jones there. Thank you. We move on to a question from Offset Gaming, who says, Olave, JMO, Sharbs, full PPR start too. Let me check. I think it may in fact be full PPR, Jameson Williams, Olave. Who is the other option at running back? Sharbs. Yeah, Olave, Sharbs are the 2 that I would roll with in a full PPR. Olave's been Yeah, he's been If you don't want to play him, you can. I mean, again, you'll see that he's going to do damage against the Eagles. But if you want to play JMO and Sharbs, I don't have an issue with it. Thank you. Let's see your Beto sends in a question. Let's see your Beto. Where is your question? I got to scroll back up all the way. Full PPR, Thielen, DeMarcus Robinson, or Zach Moss? Zach Moss is the start there. Thank you. Kenny 23332 says pick 2 in a PPR. Sorry, pick 2 running backs and 3 flex in a full PPR. Kyron, Jonathan Taylor, Dobbins, Higgins, Charbonnet, Jameson Williams, Brian Thomas Jr., Aaron Jones. Got it. Kyron, Jonathan Taylor, Charbonnet are your 3 starting running backs. Boom, boom, boom. Sorry, your 2 starting running backs are Kyron and Taylor. Finished. Charbonnet, Jameson Williams, and Dobbins are your flexes. So again, Kyron, Taylor, Dobbins, Charbonnet, Jameson. Thank you, Kenny. Appreciate it. We move on to a question that comes in from, we scroll down here, Mike. He says Goddard or Andrews in a full PPR. Zach Charbonnet or Montgomery. I'll take Charbonnet over Montgomery. I'll take Andrews over Goddard. Thank you. We move on to drums for Daves. Do you play music too, drums for Daves? Says PPR, Shakir, Jennings, Mooney, Christian Watson, Jordan Whittington. Start 2. Of the group, I'll take Shakir and Jennings. Thank you. Appreciate it. We move on. Let's see here. Did we catch up almost? I think we almost did. Did this thing not update fast enough? I don't think so. There we go. Okay, so let's see. Drums for Dave. Do you play music? Looks like you do. Damn. Everybody's cooking. Everybody. All right, moving on. Coin flip says PPR, 1 wide receiver, 1 flex. London, J.K. Dobbins, Deontay Johnson, Waddle Worthy. Okay, of the available, the 1 wide receiver I'm playing is London. The 1 flex I'm playing is J.K. Dobbins. Thank you, coin flip. The watch hangout says start 2. Alec Pierce, Darnell Mooney, Jalen Tolbert, 12-team PPR. Yep, I will take Mooney and Pierce. Thank you. Toast sends in a question. Says PPR, I need to start a flex. Adam Thielen, Zamir White, Waddle, Pickens. Okay, yeah. Between the bunch, I'll take Zamir White number 1, Pickens number 2. But if you can only play 1, it is Zamir White. Thank you. Cody Shannon says Gibbs or Ayuk or Harrison in the flex full PPR. Let me see who I've ranked the highest. In a full PPR ranking, Ayuk Okay, so Gibbs is number 1, Ayuk is number 2, Marvin Harrison is number 3. Those are the 3 that you had, correct? Let me confirm this. Yeah. Gibbs is number 1, Ayuk number 2, Harrison 3. Thank you. Joel Garza sends in a question, says PPR, Mark Cooper, JSN, or Javonte Williams? I will play JSN there, Joel Garza. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, we're scrolling down. We move on. Let's see here. We took care of all that. We can close that. Brian sends in a question. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate it. Brian says, pick one in a full PPR. Running back Swift, Javonte Williams, Akers, Carson Steele, Chuba Hubbard. Also, who's better for season long? Season long, of the available that you have mentioned, Swift is probably the best. As for this week, I think Akers is probably the play in a full PPR circumstance. Thank you for the question, Brian. Daniel Dixon keeps spamming in the chat. Daniel, brother, the rankings for your question are literally on screen. Okay? Swear to God, they are there. They are available. Metcalf, Shaheed, and Jackson Smith and Jigba are quite literally answered. It'll show up right here. Metcalf is like so much significantly higher than the other two. Just roll with that. You got studs across the board, yes, but Metcalf is the best of the bunch. Thielen over Devontae, why? Or Deontay? I just trust that I trust that Andy Dalton's got to get the ball out of his hands relatively quickly in the given week. Juwan Jennings, question mark? Yeah, he's in my rankings. Again, Juwan Jennings is like, where is he? Juwan Jennings is at 30 right there on screen. Thank you. All right, moving on. Someone said DK or Pollard. I'll take Pollard there in a half PPR. All right, let's see here. Curtly Caldwell says that a 12-team full PPR. Okay, we have Ford or Worthy. In a full PPR, let me see where I have them ranked. Okay, let's see here. Worthy is there. He is ahead of Ford. Let me confirm this. Yep, he's ahead of Ford. Thank you. Worthy's the play. Seabass says full PPR, Kyron Williams or Marvin Harrison. Let me check who I've ranked higher. As of right now, in a full PPR scoring format, I still have Kyron Williams 2 spots ahead of him. They're in the same tier. If you prefer to, like literally 18 versus 20. If you prefer to play Marvin Harrison because you don't trust the Rams offense, I have no issue with that at all. Thank you. It's a great matchup. Both of them should be great plays. Let's see here. Anvesh K sends in a question. Anvesh, I don't see anything here. Anvesh says, just wondering, why isn't Daniel Carlson on the list for the Raiders? Yeah. I mean, look, he had a great week last week. The issue is the consistency of this offense hasn't even been great going even back to last season. He had himself a pretty good week last week in terms of the 50-yard plus range, which, again, he's always been capable of. He used to be a top 3 kicker in fantasy back in 2022. Obviously, last year fell off a little bit, and this year, again, a little bit inconsistent. But of the available options, just taking into account the potential implicated scorelines on Vegas, the potential of those numbers in comparison to where kickers have played, their range options, all this kind of different metrics that I look at, slightly outside of the top 12. If you like to play Daniel Carlson, you can. I mean, again, it's very much so dependent on a lot of different circumstances. Like, are they going to score touchdowns or are they going to make field goals happen? When you play against Carolina, oftentimes it is more often going to be touchdowns rather than field goals in comparison, You really like London over Shaheed? Yeah, I do. Again, if you want to play Shaheed, I don't have an issue with it. And Cousin on Sunday night, listen, primetime Kirk Cousins has been something of the past. He's won 4 of the last 5 primetime games, so I'm not really too worried about him in this scenario. Charles Wang sends out a question, says, why do you have Dak over Darnold this week? Darnold plays against Houston. Darnold also doesn't have Addison, and the issue is Houston's defense is legit. Like, it's one of the best pass rushers in the league, on top of the fact that Darnold, fantasy-wise, doesn't have as much upside. Unfortunately. Also doesn't have, the weapons at his disposal in comparison. Let's see here. I have both Darnold and Darnold plays worse defense in Houston. He plays a worse defense. I'd argue that's the opposite. Houston's a better defense than Baltimore thus far. Baltimore last week allowed Gardner Minshew to go 30 for 38 passing. I don't know if we're ignoring that fact or not, Charles. But hey, listen, you want to play Darnold, go for it. I'm not going to stop you. You are the final decision maker of your team. Evan Call says, Pick 2, Amari Cooper, Judy, Juwan Jennings. I'll take Amari Cooper and Jennings there. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to a question from Guild559 who says, what's up, Drew? Pick 2 in a full PPR. Higgins, Moss, Zamir White. I'll take both the running backs. Give me Moss and White. Thank you. Mason Round says, hope your Sunday's well. I'm going to go take a nap after this. What are you talking about? Sunday's going to be fantastic. Now, I'll wake up from my nap, and it's either going to be shambles based on the events of the first half of football, or it's going to be a great Sunday. We'll see. Akers or Ferguson, full PPR. We'll take Akers there. Thank you. Tony sends in a question, but there wasn't anything attached. Tony, let me see if I can find you in the live chat. Tony says, there was another Tony in the live chat said Aaron Jones or Deontay Johnson. Tony, we'll take Aaron Jones there. For the other Tony, we haven't seen any question come in yet via the live chat. So if you could do me a favor and type it in there, that'd be greatly appreciated. Thank you. All right, moving on from that, Tony, we have Charles Wang who says, how does Darnold not have weapons in comparison? Look, he has JJ. Listen, Charles, if you want to argue with me, you're talking into the abyss, brother. You're talking into the abyss. This isn't really a back and forth platform. This is if you want my suggestion, I have Dak Prescott ahead of Darnold. You don't want it, I'm not here to argue. When we compare Brandon Cooks, Jake Ferguson, CeeDee Lamb, Jalen Tolbert to Jefferson, Munt, and Naylor, who's got the more weapons? That's just, it's pretty black and white. Thank you. All right, moving on. X says, in a half PPR, 2 wide receivers, 2 flex. Hill, Higgins, Collins, Godwin, Shaheed, Etienne, Demarcus Robinson. Starting running backs are Kamara / Mason. We have Stroud at quarterback. Concerned with Hill matchup. I'm not too concerned with it. I mean, again, with all the weapons that you have, you could afford to not play him. Considering the primary suggestion would be like, all right, look, you could play Collins and Godwin as your wide receivers. But then when he gets to like Shaheed, Higgins, and Hill, I'd rather just take the upside potential for Hill because I think he's just as capable of scoring as many points as Higgins and Shaheed, if not more. So the suggestion in this scenario, X, is to go Collins, Godwin, Hill, and ETN. Thank you. Official Hone sends in a question, says Ladd or Demarcus Robinson. We'll take Demarcus Robinson in that scenario. Thank you. When we move on to a question from Owick Witt, says Tyjae Spears or Zeke, half PPR. I'd go with Zeke as of right now. Tyjae Spears is going to get more utilization. I know he's dealing with a little bit of an injury, but he'll get probably more touches in comparison to weeks prior because obviously he left early with an injury. So I just prefer the potential of the goal line back of Zeke in comparison to what Tyjae could potentially present. If Tyjae Spears catches the ball 4 or 5 times, he'll probably outproduce Zeke. But in this scenario, I don't know if that's potentially possible considering the preference that they have with Pollard in that circumstance. So we'll take Zeke there. Thank you. Let's see here. Cameron Bridges says, pick 2 full PPR, Rashi, London, Waddle, Jameson Williams. Rashi Rice has to play. London is probably the 3rd best. I think it's probably Rashi Rice into Jameson Williams. Let me just confirm this. Full PPR, wide receiver. They're back-to-back in a full PPR. That's tough. Yeah. So if you want to play Rashi and Jameson, you can. Otherwise, my suggestion is Rashi and London. Thank you. Let's see here. We scroll down. We had a question that came in from Will Taylor. Thank you, Will. Will says, top of the morning, Kyler or Allen? Definitely playing Josh Allen. Thank you. Charles Wang says, all right, I'll start Dak. If he scores more, I'll sub. Brother, listen, I'm just going to leave it at that. Thank you, Charles. Appreciate it, man. I don't know what to tell you. Shivam Patel says, in a half PPR, trade Montgomery plus Reed for Jonathan Taylor and Coleman. Yes, I would take that deal. Moving on to Chris Rosado says, start Jaden Reed or Demarcus Robinson. I'll take Demarcus Robinson. Thank you. C-Max says, Jerome Porter Akers. I'll take Akers. Tony sends in a question, says, got offered Kyron Williams for Nico. Full PPR. My other receivers are Tyreek Hill, Olave, DJ Moore, JSN. My running backs are H.M. Pollard, Swift. Okay, so you got an offer. You got offered Kyron for Nico. So your Nico Collins would have to be given away for the upside of Kyron. In this scenario, looking at what you have available, you do have wide receiver depth. Your running back depth is also solid. Honestly, in a full PPR, I'd probably keep Nico Collins the rest of the season. The guy is him. He is legitimately just he's so fucking good. At this point, yeah, I just keep Nico. If you want to trade for Kyron because you think you need a little bit more running back oomph, then that's fine. I think it's a relatively straight across trade once, in fact, the Rams get healthy, but that's not for a little couple, a little bit of time until we get there. But yeah, as right now, pretty comfortable with the idea of keeping Nico. Thank you. Roy Shaver sends in a question. Thank you, Roy. Roy says, drop one in a 5-point per passing touchdown league, half a point per rush, Fields or Carr. If you're getting a half of a point per rush, and you have Justin Fields, who is coming off of 2 weeks in which he had his rushing statistics, 8 in 14 rushing attempts. So you're either going to get, so you're getting a touchdown worth of points, if not more, in rushing attempts purely off of Fields. In that scenario, I'll just take Fields there. I'm okay with that. Because if he ends up accumulating, for example, 10 rushing attempts, that's literally 10 points. No, sorry, that's 5 points. 10 rushing attempts. So that's a touchdown in this scenario. Do I even still take that based on what he's produced? Let's say, okay, so for example, week 1 would have had extra 7 points, 7 on top of that. Yeah, I'll take Fields. That's fine. I'll take Fields. I think it's relatively safe. Jaden Molina, trying to catch up before the kickoff, says, full PPR, should I make this trade? I trade away Josh Jacobs, Ayuk, Jordan Love, and get Garrett Wilson, Zamir White, Purdy. No, I'd keep what you have. Give me Josh Jacobs, give me Ayuk, give me Jordan Love rest of the season. Thank you. Also, I have, not really interested in the trade. I'd keep Josh Jacobs, Ayuk going forward. Thank you. C-Max says Anthony Richardson or Jaden Daniels. I think I have Jaden Daniels on screen ahead of him. Yeah, right here, 7 and 8. I'll take Jaden Daniels today. Thank you. Moving on, we had a question that came in from Van, who says, Pickens, Akers, Higgins, half PPR, pick 2, thanks. Pickens, Akers, Higgins. Of the potential options, if I'm picking 2 of them, I'm fairly certain. Let me go ahead and find this. Half PPR. Is it half? Let me check. Let me just confirm. Yeah, it's half. Cool. Half PPR. Control F, Akers. Is there. Pickens, Higgins. Got it. So my suggestion will be Akers and Pickens this weekend. Thank you. Okay. Almost nap time. That's right. That's correct. E111. Okay, cool. Done. Thank you. Whew. We've caught up. Charles Wang says Gus Edwards or Chuba Hubbard. Oh, but that's not even a question. That's for sure going to be Chuba Hubbard. Gus Edwards requires J.K. Dobbins to not be available. 2-minute drill, Andrew. Yeah, that's right. Mooney or Xavier Worthy? I'll take Xavier there. That's fine. Demarcus Robinson or Adam Thielen? I'll take Adam Thielen there. Akers or Tank? I'll take Akers there. Carr or Lamar? I think we're taking Lamar pretty comfortably. Aaron Jones or Jameson? I'll take Jameson. Hey, Andrew, should I start Shaheed or Brian Robinson? I'm pretty comfortable with the idea of running Brian Robinson there. If you're playing in a full PPR, I could justify Shaheed, but I'd probably still go with Robinson. Cooper or BTJ? I'll take Cooper there. Dobbins or Ridley? In a PPR, that's a good question. Let me check who I have ranked higher. See where Ridley is in comparison to Dobbins. I'd still go Dobbins there. Thank you. Let's see here. Carr or Purdy? We'll take Carr. Raiders or Texans defense? Let me see who I have ranked higher. Is it on screen yet? No, it's not on screen. It'll filter into the conversation. But Texans or Raiders? I have the Raiders one spot ahead of the Texans this week. Thank you. Thielen or Tank Dell? I think I have Tank Dell just slightly ahead of him. I don't want to go OD on Thielen. Jones or Jameson? We took care of that one. Keon Coleman or Jalen Naylor? We'll take Naylor this week. Carr or Lamar? Again, it's got to be a Lamar play. There's no way. Cameron Bridges sends in a follow-up, says Gibbs, Swift, Montgomery, Foreman, pick 2. Yeah, give me Montgomery and Swift. Or sorry, Montgomery and Gibbs. Just give me both of the Detroit Lions running backs. JR sends in a question. Nothing attached to it, though. J.R. JR, where's your question? JR says, sorry, Kincaid or Likely? I'll take Kincaid there. Thank you, JR. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Was there any questions that didn't have anything attached? Jaden Molina, did we get to you again? Just want to make sure. Yeah, we did. Okay, cool. Keep the trade. Keep Josh Jacobs. Keep Ayuk. Jaden, thank you. Cameron Bridges, we're taking both those guys. All right, guys. 10 a.m. Thank you. Appreciate y'all. Enjoy the wonderful Sunday that is. Hopefully, we're going to have ourselves a good week here. Speed round. Yeah, that was definitely a speed round. All right, guys. Appreciate y'all. Much love. Let's hope for a great day of games. Tomorrow, we'll be back with potential waiver wire pickups. Again, there are 4 teams playing tomorrow, so waiver wire may be a little bit limited in comparison to what we'll see. But again, we'll probably include waiver wire tomorrow. Then we'll expand it if we need to on Tuesday with the running back video. But either way, appreciate y'all. Much love. Appreciate you guys coming through, supporting the channel, clicking the like button. For those of you who went in and sent in questions, again, those are greatly appreciated. Much love. I will be back tomorrow. We might be back later tonight for a live stream. Depends on how that Sunday night football game goes. If it's a snoozer, then Andrew will maybe fall asleep during the game. If it's not a snoozer, we might be back to live stream. Time will tell. No guarantees. For those of you who sent in questions who had music, I'm going to listen to them. So Drew Sorensen, Nick James, Adil Hassan, and Drums for Dave. I'm going to listen to these songs. Let's see what kind of talent you guys have. We'll talk about it later. Anyway, guys, thank you. Appreciate y'all. I'm going to cue the music. Enjoy the games. And until next time, have a great Sunday. I'll see you guys. Peace.